everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Lack of Focus, episode 91. The road is long. I am your host, Ed Horn, and alongside me tonight, my good friend, Mr. Sean Dorsey. Sean, how's it going, my friend?
Good, Ed. How you doing?
Good. And of course, our producer extraordinaire, one Mr. Chris Sheriff. Chris, how are you going?
Good, thanks, Ed.
All right, so we don't have a ton of stuff to going on. We are getting towards the latter part of the year, so things are starting to wind down as we're going into the holidays. We do have a little bit of news that we can go over. We do have some dates and stuff on some new models coming out, so we can kind of go over that. But I think a lot of this is going to be some chit chat about our flight decks and things like that. So we're just going to spin right into that as far as flight decks are concerned. Sean, I know you've been doing some stuff, but I don't know everything you've been doing. And we've decided like the pregame is we're just not going to talk at all until. So, what have you been doing lately, so that we don't waste any material that comes out?
Well, last week I actually got a game of Kill Team in with my son.
I saw that. Look at all the
Yes.
beautiful terrain that was assembled and everything.
Yep. And maybe one day we'll get painted, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, it was actually a pretty good time. It was a long time coming because we've had the game for a couple months, but we finally found the time to where we both wanted to sit down and play. We basically we were kind of waiting on getting a second rule book, the core book for the game. Just so my son had one, I have one. We both have a compendium, and then of course the Octavius book. I'm gonna copy and get that. Plus the whatever the other one's called, we'll get that one done too, so that we have the
Yeah,
lists and things. Yeah.
Chris was filling me in on all of the books you have to have in order to technically play Kill Team.
No,
Or no, that
Necromunda.
was that was Necromunda that you were filling me
And
in
it's
for
the
all the
same
books.
thing. Kill Team, you have to have if you're going to
The,
play outside of the boxes, you have to have the compendiums. You don't have a choice.
Hmm.
I mean, you could probably do the building and stuff on, on a builder and things like that, but it's better to have everything, available. But the game was really fun. It was just from round 1 to round 4 when the game ended. It took about 2.5 hours to play because it's our first time.
Yeah.
Setup was about 10, 15 minutes, and then it was from there. It was just trying to figure out how to play the game, and I think we did a pretty good job. On the way back from getting the other core book, Aaron read all the rules. I've had the book forever and still haven't read the rules, but so Aaron read them on the way home, and so we were pretty much set to go. And he played orcs, and I played Adeptus Militarum, and we each had 10 figures. Now I went with the 9 of the same. Basically, they're the Pathfinders, and then he did his where he had like one comms guy and one of each of the flavor guys that you can do too. And it was pretty even actually. The cool thing is the Adeptus Militarum, you get 2 special things where you can call in like a bombardment and stuff like that. So that
Orbital
was pretty
bombardment.
cool. Yeah. And it was pretty intense. We both ended up with 2 guys left on the board, and he ended up capping on the last turn to get his fourth point. So he ended up beating me 4-3, as far as the points went and everything else. But I've never really played in many games where they're truly objective based. So that was kind of it's kind of a new concept. I've played some Armada where it's objective based, things like that. But this is really, you really have to have a good strategy to play that objective based game, especially when you only have 4 rounds and your guys are moving, at 6 inches a clip and you're trying to get across a, 2.5 foot board. You really have to be thinking ahead in how you're going to do things. And basically, it ended up being where Actually, I had 3 figures left. I literally completely forgot one on the board. So I had, like, turns where the guy didn't fire or do anything. I had set a guy up on one of the high, terrain pieces to kinda be a sniper in the game and snipe some of his stuff off the board, and, um but then after turn 3, when things really got, down to the nitty-gritty and everything, I forgot about him, so, that's my fault, not anybody else's, but it was
But
a lot of fun. It
can you
was
fill
it
me in
was
on something? Because I've never played a single game of Kill Team. So when you
Yep,
say objective based, it's not just a question of I have a model standing on an objective. It's more intricate than that, correct?
that is correct. You actually have to spend an action to cap it. So to be able to get it, you get 2 actions a turn. So for each model, they get 2 actions. So basically moving, shooting, that type of thing. But you can't do 2 actions, same actions. So you can move once, and the figures, and there's a, little movement ruler in it and everything else. And um but basically when you do it, so what the first scenario was in the Octarius book was there were 6 terrain pieces on the board. One, and it's really kind of weird, but out of the 6 terrain pieces, 3 out of the well, actually, it's one, two, three, four terrain pieces. Out of the 4 big terrain pieces, you had to get up to the second level, spend an action to claim that point. So there was one that was worth 1, one worth 2, and one worth 3.
Gotcha.
And so basically, if the furthest one is worth 3, that's the one that's worth 0 to him, and then vice versa. We each started with one kind of in our starting zone, and then one was out a little bit. That was the one worth 1. Then across the board, closest was 2, and then 3 was the one that was in his starting zone. And
Yeah, it gives you that strategic thing of like, sure, this one in your deployment zone's worth 0, but it's worth 3 to your opponent, so you can't necessarily leave it unprotected. Otherwise, you're
right,
giving up 3 points.
right, and it's weird because you have to choose between shooting, moving, and then you can also dash as another maneuver, which is a certain distance you can go, but going up. So you have three movement points, we'll say, that are within your action turn, and that movement point is worth 2 inches. Well, when you're climbing up on an objective piece, you have to be within 1 inch of it to be able to climb it, and then you have to use 2 of your 3 movement to get up to the top, and then the third movement is getting on the top. Basically, it's to move actually in. So you spend 2 to go vertical, 1 to go horizontal, basically. And it's really interesting how you really have to plan that out, and then make sure it's not a guy you're going to shoot with, because if you're going to try to capture that point, then you can't shoot with the guy, because your second is using whatever it was called, the objective capture maneuver or whatever, objective capture. So everything about it is just trying to figure out exactly what the best strategy is and stuff, and when to shoot, who to shoot with, who to move with, things like that. And i'm sure that I'm sure that if we were playing the open game version of it, where you're building stuff out of the compendium rather than what Octarius has given you, I'm sure that that game is a better version of the game, just because you're choosing basically exactly what you want, rather than having it be where you have these 10 units, and in the compendium, when you play out of the compendium, you could have like 5 space marines, and that's it,
That's still
compared.
cool. So it's one of those things like because it's such a small model count, it's easy to get everything painted up and it's also like, admittedly, like it was your first game, so it took about 2.5 hours to play because your first
Yep.
game. But as you get better at it, faster at it, it's going to be a 60-minute game or a 90-minute game.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point of it, is it's just a faster way to play 40K in a lot of ways. And I'm sure, it's probably Necromunda, I'm guessing, is very similar in concept, and probably Warcry is too, where you're just using different, what is the world of Necromundia, Chris?
It's still
Um,
40K.
yeah, it's just a hive world in the 40K universe. So there's actually like they have their own what Astra Militarum regiment. They have a Necromundan regiment, and but it's all like gang warfare and how you like the civilians do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
But
and that's
yeah,
that's you know, I think their games are similar, and to me this is fun because this is 40K, it's a 40K universe, 40K everything, but it's a good way to learn a little bit about 40K, and understand bits and pieces, especially when you're coming in from the outer world and know nothing about 40K coming in. Um, but yeah, it was a really good time. Um, I would say if I compare it to other games that I've played, it's probably in the top three, of those games. Just because now I've only played once, so I might not. It might get tedious after a while, But it's also a quick way into 40K because it's just a ton of terrain. I bought 2 boxes, so you get two 10-figure armies, so basically a squad, but just a crap ton of terrain. And so having 2 kill team boxes to be able to play a full game of 40K, we'll now have all the terrain we ever need to play
mm,
Yeah.
40K.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
And we have
I
we have more, we have a lot more than that too.
I've heard that's very similar with Necromunda too. Is that Necromunda and Kill Team require quite a bit of terrain, and it's
Hmm.
almost the same amount as a full.
I don't know if you can see it behind me, but that stack behind that brown box is all Necromunda terrain.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm gonna get my table done over Christmas. Just depends. So that's one of the projects I want to tackle because I've been waiting for a release that came out today before I start making my tiles, but I don't want to steal Sean's thunder. So,
Oh yeah, no, of course.
But the other nice thing too is if you have a small gaming table, this fits on your table.
Yes.
That's another thing about it too. Like my son and I both, he bought an alpha table a couple months ago, so he has a full 4x6 table space that we can, when we play 40K, we'll play over at his place. When we play this and other games, we'll play over here. But for the board to fit on the table and then to have a ton of space to be able to fit other stuff, you know, your dice and your data sheets and all those types of things. It was really nice to just not be cramped in on a game surface. And that was the other thing that was nice about it too, is just it's small, it fits well, and it plays really well for a 4 round game. It's now for us. I didn't know anything about Astra Militarum or about what my guys did. He really didn't know anything about what his guys did. So that's where the learning. That's kind of what slowed us down a lot too. Is reading sheets and trying to figure out exactly what was what, and all of those things. So
I feel
you
the
know,
same way about whenever ninth edition came out and we first started playing our first couple of games in ninth edition, even at 1,000 points. We were like, what does this do? How does it, like? It's gotten much, much faster. It's like any other game, Sean. Like I'm sure the first couple of games of X-Wing that you played, it was, what does this do? How does this work? Reading cards, like
oh
it's
yeah, yeah. It was no different than any game even board game, just basic board games. It's a learning curve, throughout. And that was the thing though, is that this game was really easy to learn. Like how to move, how to measure shooting, and we kind of were confused at the beginning because we weren't sure about ranges on guns and stuff, so we're looking it up, and oh wait, they're laser guns, so they can go across the board.
Yep.
It's that type of thing, as long as you have line of sight and stuff like that. And there may be things that we missed about that we'll pick up on the next time. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. That's pretty much all of my gaming that I've done. um I bought a game on Steam called Farming Simulator, and then
Ooh.
I bought the steering wheel and pedals and the side panel and everything else. So I've been trying to learn that, in my off time and stuff. And um, so that's kind of the only other thing I've done. I put together a few models from the new set. The 3 of the Tau so far out of the 10, and that's something I gotta pick back up. I'll probably do that Monday while we're playing D&D, is build some more models and stuff, because there's a little more dead space sometimes in that,
Oh
than
yeah, it's not a
like on
bad
a podcast.
it's not a bad idea. I might have some gene stealers. I might start putting some base coats down on too, because
Yeah,
Tyranid gene stealers have gotten really, really good with the new. So I've been shifting up what I've been taking to the game store, but
yeah,
we'll get to that in mind.
yeah. And then I have 10 Sisters of Battle to put together too. So
Ah, can't wait, can't wait.
You have to.
I will patiently.
I almost just boxed them up and sent them to you unpainted. Just shut up and take these. Do them yourself.
You have to understand though, like legitimately, my intent is to watch your painting stream intently to know how to paint them, because I struggle. I'm not gonna lie, I struggle with black armor because I get the idea that it's black with highlights of gray, but it always to me it just seems like black with gray lines drawn on it. So like, I really want to see how you do the highlighting and how that's gonna work. Like that's those are like the
Why?
two of the colors I struggle with the most, whites and blacks. Like, how do you highlight black? Well, you do it a little bit of a darker gray, and then you kind of like highlight it with an almost white, like an almost like, but like conceptually, I get it, but otherwise, I'm like, but does it really look good?
I would expect that your problem is you're highlighting too much of a model.
Potentially,
You don't need to highlight as much with black, because it it just looks like, say, you end up making it too busy.
right? Yeah. Well, so like, all right. So if we want to talk highlighting for a second, so one of the things that always drives me nuts, and you can always tell this on like black tanks, like doesn't matter which army or it doesn't matter. I'm guilty of it myself. Like my tanks that I did for my Space Marines are this exact same problem. Someone sprays uh, primer black, and then they'll go through with a gray and hit every single edge ever. So it just looks like a picture frame everywhere it goes. And it like that's not how natural light would work. Like
Yeah.
like you wouldn't pick up a sharp highlight here at the exact same, luminescence as you would on the back corner. But when you look at the tanks, they all look the same. And I've seen models that get painted the same way. And I'm like, this like unless the light source was directly above the model at all times, I don't even know that you would catch that. But like they'll catch highlights underneath, and like, well, it wouldn't get highlighted. Like I know that now. I didn't know that then, but the more I see it, the more it drives me nuts.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway,
so
Chris,
anyway, that's my flight deck for the show.
Good.
what have you been up to lately?
I've been to work a lot. I've worked a lot. I went to work twice yesterday.
Went
Um,
to work twice yesterday.
yeah. Uh, Thursday night, I went in to try and get some receiving done, and worked until like 1 a.m. Then got home about 1:30. Got up, took Evie to daycare Friday morning, went back to work for like 8:10. Worked until the store opened at 11, then came home, then went back for 6 to open up to run the X-Wing. So, good. I love it. Can't get enough.
Can't get enough. Just keep
Yeah.
going. Just keep it up.
I love working. It's the best.
Well, paying bills is always a good
Yeah.
thing,
But yeah, because
especially this time of year. I'm just gonna throw
that's
that
it.
out.
Uh, my mum actually, when she came last time, she was talking about if there was anything I wanted to use her like Avion points for or whatever it is from her banking, like the reward points she gets from her bank, and it's like,
Oh,
oh,
gotcha.
they did Amazon vouchers, so I actually got her to send us Amazon vouchers, and that's what I used to buy my new microphone and everything.
Hmm.
So it didn't actually cost me any money. It's
We
There
were
like,
you
talking
go.
about this. I think we were talking about this off mic, but yes, you do have a new
yeah,
setup. You bought
yeah.
the same mic for your streaming setup, correct?
Yeah, I had it's a mic I bought for my streaming setup a while ago when I started doing the painting streams, and I think I got that sorted out, and the audio seemed like it's been good for the last few. So then I was like, okay, if I do the same setup for this, like it's a lot smaller and more compact. So I hate having it where I feel like I can't see half the screen and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But yeah, hopefully this sounds good. I don't know.
it sounds fantastic on our end, but I don't know how it's gonna come out in the recording.
Terrible. I'll butcher it in editing. I'll
I'll
add
just go
some
back.
noise and like make sure I get all the pops.
You're gonna
But
go back and re-edit it and make it worse.
yeah, just for consistency's sake.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Um, I've not played any Necromunda because I've basically everything snowballed from when I was going back to UK. I played a bunch of games so I didn't fall behind, but then another wave of COVID hit, so all the gaming got shut down. So I was actually ahead of everyone, and then I came back, took like 2 week break to let people catch up, and then they didn't. So then I was playing again. So I've still got the most games, and I haven't played for a month now. But
That's that's a shame, isn't it?
I was chatting about it with my friend last night he's the guy who's running it. Mike is Uncle Mike's the arbitrator for the campaign, and we were chatting about it. And I was like, I don't want to ask other people if they want a game because it'll just be a perpetual cycle of I'll stay further ahead. And I don't care about winning. I care about having fun and playing. But if they don't have time to catch up, because I'm at the plateau of my gang right now. So if I keep playing them, I'll keep them down rather than them catching up.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
And
you're actually gonna make it worse for them, not better.
yeah. And like, because even if like I'm at the point now where if one of my Ogrins dies, it doesn't really matter. I can just buy a new one. And like, it's very unlikely for you to be able to like kill my gang leader because it's just ridiculous now. It's toughness 6 with 3 wounds. He's got a 1-up armor save. He's got he's got a falsehood so that you can't shoot him for the first 2 rounds of the game. You can't do any aggressive action towards him until he's like attacked you because he's wearing a falsehood. So you just think he's some random old man. Like it's a little like Ogrin old man hobbling around, and then throws his falsehood off, and it's like surprise.
Please, please, please tell me that the rules are very similar to 40K, where even though technically you have a 1+ save, you still fail on a 1. And
Yeah,
I don't have to get into the argument that I got
no,
into on Tuesday, where I had Chad had it wasn't Chad, it's always the outside person. Chad knew what I was talking about, and it wasn't even a conversation. But you had Terminators in cover with a 1+ save, getting shot at by an AP0 weapon, and he's like, "Oh, those are 1-up saves. That means they just auto pass." Like, how fucking long have you been playing this game? Like,
Some
ones are
games have
still
that.
failures. It's from someone who should have known better.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably if it had been a new person and I had to explain to them that I had to go to the core rulebook and show him that ones are always fails.
Even
But
I know that.
right. But he couldn't wrap his head around the idea, like, well, Terminators in cover, they never need to roll dice because they just auto pass all armor saves. And I'm like, that's not true. And it was a 15-minute derailing conversation where I literally had to break out a rulebook for it.
That sounds like a you problem,
It was.
because what you could have done is gone, yeah, all right, and just ignored him and carried on with your game.
Just because he wasn't even involved in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
That
You are
seems like
correct.
a you wanted to be right. You were playing, I'm gonna type on the internet.
No, that it's not that. It was, I felt the need.
The
I,
need
Moment.
to
It was a
win.
teaching moment.
It was exactly. It was a teaching moment, and it didn't start. I didn't start
Some
off
people don't want to
snippy.
learn.
I didn't start off snippy, but I definitely got snippy towards the end. My intent was like, oh no, that's a common mistake. It's in the core rulebook, blah blah blah. Like, and if he would just have let it go right there,
Yeah.
the conversation would have ended.
If it had just let you win there, you wouldn't have had to keep going. You could have enjoyed playing your game with Chad.
Exactly.
What turn did your game end on?
Well, the turn that our game ended on is irrelevant of this conversation, and now I'm going to get into that into my flight deck. So technically, our game ended on turn 2. But
All right. And how many extra turns would you have had if you had 25 minutes less badgering about rules?
Well, I would have gotten a much larger victory on turn 3 than I would have. I'll get to that in a minute. There's a reason for that.
That's fine. Yeah, so he's got light carapace armor, which is a 4-up save. Then an armored undersuit gives him +1 to his save. It's 3-up. Then I bought him some ablative plating, which is +2 to your save for the first armor save you take, +1 to your armor save for a second armor save you take, and then it does nothing.
Oh, so it degrades. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, but remember, you can't shoot him because of his falsehood for the first 2 rounds. Then he's got toughness 6 and a 1-up save. And 3 wounds.
Good luck to you.
And if I get to charge you with my 7-inch movement and my tactics card, which doubles my movement range instead of being movement plus D3. So I've got a 14-inch charge guaranteed. And I get 8 attacks that hit on 2s with his strength of 6. So,
Good luck.
As I said, I don't really have to worry about him anymore. He's just a giant threat piece of like, look, if you want, we can play, but I would advise you just let me win.
Yeah, it's not going to turn out well for you either way.
It's just ridiculous. Like, the way it works, obviously, is that it snowballs because I got him extra move early so he could get into combat more often. Then he's in combat more, so he's earning more experience. So then I made him get +1 to hit, so then he hits on 2s, which means he hits more once he gets there.
Yep.
And
and what at what strength did you say was that again? Strength 8?
Strength 5 normal. Strength 5 base, so what the augmented fist give him +1. I mean, he's only worth like 670 credits. If you were to capture him and sell him, that's how many credits you get. A starting gang is like 1,000 credits.
Oh god.
Yeah.
So that one model is worth almost an entire gang.
Yep. That's what happened. He spiraled. I managed to buy him. I forgot what it's called now. It's basically like a Matrix training suite where it just gets plugged into his head, and then he suddenly knows kung fu. Um, but you have to survive an injury roll, and then as long as you don't die for the injury roll, you get to pick any skill from the game, even if you can't normally take it. So I took Nerves of Steel. So when he gets shot, if he passes a cool check on a 4+ on 2d6, he doesn't get pinned anymore. So he just walks through. Like once you can shoot him, you can't stop him. It's just like, yeah, just keeps walking forwards. They're gonna get you.
Continuing to go through with those gigantic saves.
Yeah. So that's been good. And I got my gang fully painted again. I painted the extra
Good.
models. I think because of the box that was released today was the Outlaws box, which is like you're supposed to be able to do like a full gang of hive scum and stuff like that. But I just want to be able to convert a couple of the models to be my the people who just show up every game and I don't care about. Because
Mhm.
the real
Mm.
secret to my success has been having terrifying Ogren who doesn't die as just like distraction.
That
Then
everyone's scared to death of.
yeah, the other skill that he's got is walk it off. So if you wound him and he takes 2 move actions, he can just discard the wound. Fine, it's fine. You got through my 1-up save after 2 rounds and not being able to shoot me. I'll just have a walk. I'm healthy again now.
Rub some dirt on it and I'll be all right.
Yeah. Um, but then one of the other tactics cards will actually have 2 Goliath Jubes with like friends on collars, so they're like all hyped up on drugs. Um, so they
Oh,
they die off after every game and then get resurrected because they're not in my gang. They're just models that turn up for that fight. And then one of the territories I've got lets me hire 2 hive scum before every game in the exact same way. So I have 4 models that I just like put out in really stupid positions for you to have to target. So people shoot at them, and I always say, look, why are you killing these people? Red's not going to get mad at you. You hurt one of his boys, he's going to start coming out to play.
yeah, it's gonna get ugly quick.
Like, oh look at him, he's hovering, he's within 14 inches of you. Can't shoot
Yeah.
him because of his falsehood. So who do you want to shoot? Do you want to shoot at the ogres who are all getting closer? And then Red's going to come and get you.
They're on their way.
So yeah, it's good fun.
Good. Yeah, so I sort of, admittedly, different game, but when we were doing really deep into our Blood Bowl league, it got to the point that like Chad and I were the only ones showing up on a fairly regular basis. So what would happen is that we would have a game scheduled with Mark, or we'd have a game scheduled against Matt, and Matt wouldn't, and one of the two of them wouldn't show up, or one of the other 6 people that were in the league wouldn't show up. So of course, Chad and I are there. We want to play Blood Bowl. It's an open league, so the way that we determined it is you can't play the same person in back to back game. So like I can't play Chad and then play Chad again.
Mm.
But how it would work is like most often Chad and I would play against each other, then we play against what other one person showed up there, and then we'd play against each other again, and then we. So it got to the point that we had like 2.5 million gold teams versus all these teams that had gotten like 4 games in.
Yeah.
And while there are inducements to kind of help as a balancing factor, and I agree that those do assist lower end teams to give them more of a shot, it's really difficult when you're looking at like a level 3 gutter runner that's like one turn scoring every time I touch the ball. Like it's not even a fair game at that point.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, I paid to put bounties out on a couple of the other gangs. I
That's what you do. There you
yeah.
go.
There's ways of and like the inducements in Neckerman are really good. So like you don't there's standard rules in the core book that you just get more tactics cards. Like every full 100 credits you get an extra tactics card. But basically the rules are that you can just spend that much money for free on hiring people to turn up for this game, and then they leave. So you just do it in the same way. You make sure those are the people who are getting shot. Because if your gang doesn't take injuries, it doesn't matter. Winning and losing is irrelevant as long as you're not dying.
Right, because you're just
Yeah.
building up points to make your teams bigger and stronger, kind of thing.
Yeah, and getting a free Ogrin a quarter of the time instead of 1/36 of the time has been pretty lucky, you know? What are you going to do? Supposed to be when you roll a double six. I've rolled a double six after 3 of my games. No. Good.
Yes, yes, those are good feelings. Those are good days. Like, yes, yes,
Yeah.
someone saw that, right? Yes.
Yeah, I've got 10 Ogrins in my gang, a rogue doctor, a rattling slopper, um, an ambot, like mining, like it's an arm ball that's been converted into a robot and then sends to work in the mines. But it's got like twin melter blasters on its power claws and just rips through stuff. And then I've
That's
got
interesting.
yeah, and then I've got my 2 hired guns. They were like my range fire support, and I've got the 2 Goliaths. So like 18 or so. Well, no, like 16 models all done, and then I'm going to replace one of the hangers on, and then I want to start doing something else. I probably need to do like say some Sisters of Battle or something. Oh.
Just throwing that out there.
Oh,
That'd be
I
nice.
know. I'm aware. I'm aware of where I stand at the minute. But
I have boxes. I have bubble wrap. I told myself, I say this all the time. So, and if I box everything up and I send it to Chris, maybe that'll be like, oh crap. Now I've got stuff here. Now I have to do it.
oh, it's fine. I mean,
I'm not pressuring you. I
yeah,
totally get burnout. Totally get it.
yeah.
Not
It's
to mention
not
the fact that
like
you have your own commission stuff. So like I don't want to like trample over that either.
let's see how am I actually doing on my painting goals. I've not updated this yet with the new stuff that I did. Would you okay, so I've got plus one of them 2 models done there. The date December the 4th, is it?
Today is December the 4th. That's the day after my wife's birthday. So yes.
Okay. So I'm at 278 models I've painted so far this year.
And what day of the year is it? I don't have that number off.
338. So I'm 60 models behind. So I've taken 60 days off so far this year from painting a model.
Just order multiple boxes of a Gretchen. That'll all work, right?
I've 10 grots. I did 10 grots. It's fine.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I've still got 20 left to do. But, you know, snips and it was, what was the other model I did? Snips. Oh, no, that's wrong. This is more models than that. It was Snips and the Ambot Ambot. And then I also did the Dot and Swapper. So I'm actually only 58 days behind.
Ooh, there you go.
Live updates.
In progress as we speak.
Yeah. I feel better about that. You know, it's less than 60, less than 2 months off. Um, yeah, that's fine.
It'll be fine. You'll be okay.
Oh, there's no way I'm getting that many, especially because I want to do some scenery. So that takes so much time. Like
Yeah, I don't know how I
painting the Rohirrim house counted as one. So one of the things that I painted was a giant building.
it'd be different if you had like the gigantic rank and file, like if you were doing Skaven, for example. Like
Yeah,
so much easier to be like, yep, I got like or I'm doing like gaunts, or I'm doing something like that. Like, yep, I got 120 gaunts painted in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that'd be a huge boon. But
Yeah. What else? I played some X-Wing, just it's
ooh,
a quasi X-Wing podcast, so But yeah, I ran Vader in the TIE Advanced, not Defender.
oh, look at
Um,
that.
You were on the list that you ran against me.
a few changes to it. I went with still Brilliant Evasion, but I went with Afterburners, and then the same 4 Inferno Squadron ties, but just all of them with marksmanship because I couldn't decide how to load them out. So
Gotcha.
it just all got marksmanship. And yeah, I've been enjoying it. I got I got rolled by a scum list. I played against Jeremy Chambalaya. Um,
In person, or did you play
no, we
on?
played on
Okay,
TTS.
I was
Um,
gonna say.
he was flying like Boss, Bubba, and someone else like Dengar or something. I can't remember. It was like a bunch of just scum, and I was like, I'm not gonna kill all of these quick enough because I just joisted the ties into the YB666 and didn't kill it quick enough. And then it's like, okay, I traded all of my TIE fighters effectively for no, I think I lost 2 in a round. And then I was like, I've still not killed the 666, so that was difficult. But lost that game and then played against a Bubba and Guri list. Just Bubba and Guri, 2 ship list. And that one went a lot
Ooh,
easier because I finally um just got damage onto Boba Fett, and then I get rerolls on defense. So I think we were counting rounds in that one, like for a 12 round thing, and we were running a timer as well. But we got to round 7 was the round in which he popped Iden.
hmm.
Because that one of the guys was watching and was like, "Oh, I don't know if you're in a good position." Like from the maneuvers I had to do, I had to take a turn where I like turned everyone away, so I had 0 shots, and then obviously I need to K turn the next turn, so I'm going to get 0 mods there. It's like, oh, it doesn't look like it's going to be good for the next couple of turns. I was like, Clay, it's turn 6. I've not popped Iden. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh no. Um,
Yeah.
but
Iden in that list really kind of just makes that list last that much longer.
Yeah.
yeah, what was it? The first one he got like 4. It was hit crit or something stupid like that, and a range 1 shot from Guri. Because I just like Guri get behind them, and I'm like, as long as I'm controlling Boba Fett, Guri can be behind me. It's 1 ship shooting a Tie fighter. Like
Right.
it doesn't really like. Yes, she might blow one up in 1 shot, but the chances are she won't. So like she did like 4 damage on 1 shot. I rolled the dice and got 2 evades. It's like, oh, look at that. I don't need to pop Iden. I'll just take the 2 damage and be left on 1 hull. And then the next turn, I went slow, so he overshot, so couldn't shoot the same TIE fighter again. And then he shot again. Like, oh, look at that. I evaded your shot this time. Still didn't pop Iden. And just the
Yeah.
same, you know what I mean? Just over and over again.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it. And that, like, knowing like which ship you can just let die as well. It's like, oh man, you killed Sane. Okay, cool, whatever. I
Yeah, you
think
get
I'll
the opportunity to make that choice of like, it's okay. I'm gonna
yeah
save Iden from this.
I'll just not let you kill Delmico because he gives everyone else rerolls for
Right.
defense.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, but yeah, it was good. Took me a while. He had hull upgrade and shield upgrade on Boba Fett, so it took a long time to chew through. But he also had Greedo on there, so like just Vader pumping him full of crits because it was like I've I've stopped taking fire control system on Vader because I would just you know what? I'll spend a force and get an extra action. It's okay. I'll target lock you
Yep.
again every turn. And I
Yep.
find it gives him a bunch of freedom. Um, but it's like, okay, so I rolled my 4 dice. I got 1 hit, a focus, and 2 blanks. Well, okay, well, I'll turn the hit to a crit. I'll spend the target lock to reroll the blanks, and then oh look at that! I got like 2 hits, so I'll spend 1 force and keep my focus token.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh look at that! It's like boom, 4 hits. Well, sorry, 2 hits, 2 crits and stuff consistently from Vader. And
Oh God.
yeah, it's good. I mean, the only thing that would make him better is him being the Vader and the Defender ability and just never actually not getting all of the hits. Just
Yeah.
really cheap. But yeah, I love that ability to just like, you know what, this turn actions are important, so I'm gonna like take my my barrel roll, my focus, and my target lock this round. Uh,
Coming from having played that ship in first edition, it makes me so happy to see that Vader in a tie advanced can still be relevant to the game.
I
It
really,
always bothered me. It always bothered me once we got into like wave 4 and beyond. Like there was a time whenever Palpatine came out, you had the Fel Vader Palpatine list, and then the Inquisitor came out, and then they dropped Vader because he was the least efficient of the two. And then it became, the Inquisitor fell and the Palp shuttle.
yeah,
It's always nice. It's like, how does Darth Vader not relevant? And don't get me wrong, I get it. It's flying X-Wing on easy mode to have him in a TIE Defender, but technically he's supposed to be a badass in that ship.
he is. I love it. I really enjoy playing that list. I'm not gonna lie. It's the most fun I've had playing X-wing for a while.
Good old
Um,
Vader and the TIE Advanced. Gotta love it.
but like doing, like, um, I did a lot of like this guy now needs to barrel roll because I'm gonna slot Vader into the middle of them. So it'd be like 3 members of the swarm here. Um, uh, Gideon would barrel roll, and then Vader would do the one bank from a different angle and just have a firing line facing Bubba.
Yep.
Um, I did make one error, where I I didn't expect it. Mark did so he turned Bubba out, so he's facing back towards his own table edge and cloaked. And then he I was like, the only move he can do here, I wouldn't have been comfortable dialing in the too hard. It fits, but it's like I would have felt nervous about it. But then he dialed it, so I'm like, he's gonna be doing the one harder way. So I'm just gonna I committed to him doing that move. And then he did the 3 Talon roll the other way, right into literally into a corner of the map where like you couldn't have deployed him any further into a corner. I was like, "Yep,
Wow.
you got me, Mark." But then I tried barrel rolling Vader across to see if I could just catch the angle and missed the angle, but I'd linked the action because I wanted to conserve my force. And then afterwards, I was like, you know what? That was stupid. If I was going to do the barrel roll, I should have spent a force to do it so that I can K turn next turn. Because now I can't K turn. So that was a turn where
Yep.
everyone kind of just took safe moves to get out. Um, but it gave him one turn's reprieve. So, yeah, it was good. It was a good game.
Good flying if he could drop that in there though.
Oh,
Hmm.
I was impressed. I didn't think I didn't even see the move because I didn't like it. So it was like Talon roll, and then you've got to slide it forwards because like
Mm-hmm.
if you went center, it's off the table.
Yep.
So I would never have doubted that in a million. If it's that close, I would have doubted it.
Yep.
Well,
I only ever pulled up something close like that once. It was at a regionals when I decloaked Whisper, and we actually had to have a judge. I remember this distinctly. The judge like, here's how I rule this. Is I'm gonna put a one stick right here, or the five stick, and I'm gonna lift it up. And if it, the ship moves, you're off the table. And I must have been like a millimeter on the table, and I was like, because I was like, because it's one of those things in your brain. You're like, I can make that, right? Like in your head, you've trained your eyeballs to be like, I can make it, I can make it. And then you put it down, and you're like, oh, so
Yeah,
close.
and there was a bunch of times in the game where I was doing the one bank with Vader a lot, and I'd look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to barrel roll here to make space for Vader to keep him where I want him to be. So I wanted the ties to be slightly ahead, so they were juicier targets. And I'd be like looking at it like, if I do this, I'm gonna have to barrel roll. I can't do this move because it'll block Vader. And I was like, what are you doing, Kris? It fits. Just fucking do it. It's fine. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
like,
sometimes overthinking is
yeah.
X-wing.
Like I say,
Yeah.
I did I didn't hit any obstacles and I didn't bump any ships. So I was happy.
Ooh.
And
Not even self bumping to correct angles.
no, nothing, no bumps at all. Everything was
Hmm.
fine. Um, I blocked. Yeah, I blocked Bubba because I broke off Gideon to kind of just be annoying. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed. Like I said, I really enjoyed flying the list. So you miss Hell Runner. You feel it when because I was
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
focusing every turn with the TIE fighters and like never getting to never spending the focus. A number of times I removed my focus tokens in the end phase because it'd be like hit and a miss. Right,
Mm-hmm.
2 blanks, okay, and oh, get in! I got 2 crits. Oh, you just evaded them. Okay, cool. But equally, like I
How
won,
far away
so
are you from getting Hal in that list?
a long way because
Oh,
you're not dropping Iden because
no.
in fact it doesn't even matter because I don't want Hyle because it's Inferno Squadron. The entire list is
Yeah,
Inferno
yeah,
Squadron and Vader.
I know. For your theme.
Yeah. So I could drop Iden and take Hell Runner, but then they're just TIE fighters that can die. Iden
Yeah.
is what makes it super frustrating to play against.
Right.
Ask Sean.
I'll be honest with you though. I wasn't frustrated against that list. It's just it was just a weird dice night. You
Yeah.
know, it was one of those things. Like if you'd have rolled one less evade for Vader or one less whatever, Vader would have been off the board. What, turn 2?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one of those weird things where
I'll be honest, Sean, I don't know in that exchange that I could have rolled less if it's Vader.
I know that's what I'm saying. I mean, in the 3 rounds that I had true shots at him, he still survived with 1 health.
Yeah.
He had 1 hole left and
Yeah.
was barely hanging on at that point. But that's
Barely
X-wing.
enough. That's the
Yep.
exact right amount.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly.
But
I did make you blow Iden early.
yeah, and that's it.
So
I tend to put him in a position where you know what, if I have to blow Iden early, it's fine because I'm rolling all of these attacks at you too. So
right, exactly.
but yeah,
Yep.
it's good. I do enjoy it. And then what else have I done? I've been playing a little bit of just taking over on League of Legends. I watched the Arcane series
Ooh.
on Netflix. It's really good. Arcane, highly recommend. Really good. So I've just been
So,
like taking over,
can
playing some League.
can you answer a question for me? If you've never touched a game of League of Legends before, is it worth still
Still,
watching?
I think it will stand on its own.
Okay, because that's the only reason why I didn't touch it. Because I'm like, well, I've never played the game, so like, it'd be like if they made a World of Warcraft movie and they did, and you never did anything in World of Warcraft, you had no idea what was going on. Like, is it worth it to see it?
I think I think it's hard to say because it it's I think it stands on its own. I think it's a very good show. I think the writing's good, the voice acting's good, the animation's good. Um, I I like Imagine Dragons, so I think the soundtrack's good.
Yeah,
Um,
my wife's a gigantic fan.
yeah. But yeah, I would highly recommend it.
All right. Well,
Um,
I've got a bunch of free time coming up in this month, so I'll make sure to add that to my watch list.
yeah, and then I picked up um Gloomhaven on Steam, so we can
Got that.
but at
I
some
got
point,
that already.
yeah, we look at getting Gloomhaven and maybe have a go. Play some
Well, I was
Gloomhaven
gonna
on a
say,
Saturday.
if everybody can get it, and everybody needs to watch for the Steam sale on it, but it should be in full release now too.
Yeah, it's on sale this weekend. It's
Yeah,
only 20% off. It's not like a massive sale, but it's still
no, but
cheaper
it
than full
wasn't.
price.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's still cheaper, but we could use that as like a fill-in game until we're ready to do something after D&D.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought
You
about
know,
Saturdays as well, like replace Inquisitor with that.
If Ed could, all right. In my defense, first of all, behind the scenes, when you're listening to us, we're recording this on the Saturday. The reason why we're recording us on the Saturday is because our system admin decided to do updates to the .NET framework and what was the other thing? He put two updates on my SQL servers on Thursday morning that completely screwed my data warehouse, completely screwed up all of my link servers. It wasn't pulling any data from our replicated databases. And I was in pure panic mode for about 9 hours. So, friendly advice to all of you system admins out there, if you intend to do updates to your SQL servers, for the love of God, please tell the SQL admin that you're doing that so that they can look them up and go, oh, wow, it's going to break all this other crap. Do we really want to do this? As opposed to finding it out the hard fucking way. Ed
Big
was not a
sigh.
happy camper on Thursday. Not a happy camper at all.
Oh
Supposed to pick my
well.
wife. Supposed to pick my wife's cake up. I was late for that. God awful, just god awful. So in any case, yeah, friendly piece of advice to all you system admins out there: for the love of God, please tell the system or the SQL admin that you're making changes to their SQL server before you do them, not
Yeah.
after.
Um, well, I feel like started watching Hawkeye as well. That was fun. Seems fun. I enjoyed it.
yeah,
Um,
it's different than the others that they've had so far. It's just more
de-
fun.
yeah, it's definitely the holiday show.
The
Yeah,
holiday
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
yeah.
most definitely.
It's just fun, and like I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll amp up at the end and like feel like it's added to the universe kind of thing. But
Well, it has to
yeah,
because it's setting up other stuff. This is a
yeah,
setup show. It's kind
yeah,
of like basically the way I would describe it is it's like MCU Die Hard.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
Ooh,
being a Christmas, not a Christmas movie, but a Christmas time movie
there you
where
go.
yeah,
it definitely sets it up, yeah, as kind of like that. But yeah, there are things in it that have to happen, I think, for other stuff in the MCU to,
yeah.
continue.
And then what else did I do? I watched Dune.
Did we talk
Uh,
about that in the last show? I
I
thought
can't,
maybe
I
possibly.
can't. Did I talk about me having watched it? I can't remember. I don't know.
Sean, have you seen it? Because I don't know if I want to
Oh
go
yeah,
into
I've seen it like 3 or 4 times already.
same. I think I've
Uh,
seen it three. So I don't know if we need to put a spoiler alert here. Stop
I
now.
I really don't know because like if you don't know the story, and like I didn't know the story, so I'm reading the book as well. But
Mhm.
like I didn't know the story, but I don't feel like spoilers for June the game. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
book's
no,
been
I
out
agree.
for how long?
I
And
100% agree.
you had a movie in what, 85 Horsepower,
80
85.
Yeah.
86, the David Lynch film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, as
I
we
mean I
talked about
get it.
before,
We're gonna talk about it, I imagine, but like
just a little. So, first of all, I'm with you. I had never read the book as a kid. My first exposure to the Dune universe in any way, shape, or form was the 86 Lynch film, and I love that.
Yep.
I don't believe you. I think your first exposure to a universe was playing 40k.
No, so I actually saw the 86 film, the Dune film, before I started playing 40K, just for the record. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of stuff that Games Workshop may have borrowed from the Dune universe. I'm not going to deny that.
Gotta protect that
Um,
IP.
yep. So the I will I think the director of that film took a really big chance breaking it into two films. I think it was the right decision overall.
He didn't have a choice, I don't think,
No, I
because
agree.
he wanted to do the mega film, and the studio told him you can't do a 5-hour film,
Yep.
you know, so you're stuck with this, and we're not going to fund the second unless the first succeeds.
And that's where the
And
problem comes in. Because first of all, we know the second film's confirmed, so a lot of this is moot, I admit. However, the way that film does not have an ending. It
it
doesn't.
doesn't need to. To me, I'll throw this out there, Ed, because I've heard this same argument before. What it reminds me of is the ending to the first Lord of the Rings movie. It just ends.
It just ends. So the
Frodo and Sam are looking out across towards Mordor, and it ends, and that's the end of it.
the
And
analogy that I like, do you remember in the 90s whenever the movie Titanic came out
never
on
seen it, but yes,
All right, Braveheart. Did you see Braveheart?
It's been 84
unfortunately, yes.
years.
Okay, so when Braveheart came out on VHS, it literally was such a long movie. It came out on two VHSs. So you put the first VHS in, and then the film just stops.
Stops. Yeah.
And then you take the other one out and put the other one in and watch
Fuck.
the rest of the
Did,
movie.
did America
That's
not invent long play?
no. If
No.
you look it up sometime, if you look it up,
No.
you will see that
Is this a pile thing? Do you not have it on? Is it whatever the formatting is for America?
no.
No,
It was
because in America, the film format for VHS was the middle play because of film quality. When you did long play, the film
yep,
quality was less than
yep.
short play, and you had to use EQ. The at the time the $25 EQ tapes if you wanted to do anything on long play, which nobody was ever. A studio was never going to put them out on that. So
Right.
I cannot think of anything I've ever watched on VHS that was over 2 tapes.
Now I've
Other
got
than like series and stuff, all of the pile versions are in extended, like long play.
I've got to look it up now.
I think over time they did that, Chris, but at the
Yeah.
beginning of it, no, not because you were fighting with Betamax also. VHS was trying to fight the higher quality that Betamax gave, which they couldn't do if they were doing it in long play. Because
see.
Betamax was a much better video quality.
Here we go. Let's see if I can copy this. I'm going to put this in podcast crap so that we can talk about the same thing. But legitimately, this is how we got this in the US. It was 2 VHS in one box set. I know because I still have mine.
Yep.
So my point is how this film worked was quite literally it was a 3.5 hour film. So you got about to the I don't know, almost 2 hour mark, and the movie just stopped as it was transitioning from one scene to the next, and you took that tape out and you put the next one in and you continued on. Dune 2021 did the exact same thing, where there is no climax to that film. There's the beginning, you get some character background, you get this really cool conflict that establishes.
Do you get some character background?
Okay, so there are a lot of things that were left that had to have been left on the cutting room floor. The fact that the word mentat is never mentioned in the film really bothers me. And I'm not sure
Doesn't bother
why.
me at all.
I don't
I
understand.
have no, I'll tell you why it doesn't bother me, because I think what you're going to see are callbacks. You're going to see flashbacks. You're going to see a lot of those things that we didn't see in the first, in the second, to spell out the first, because he never mourned Duncan, he never mourned Gurney, he never really mourned his dad other than hiding in the
Mhm.
tent with his mom. Which probably
So
the lip sync for Dune is funny if you ever watch that.
I
When
have
they're
to look.
in the tent, it's
I'll have
hilarious.
to look.
But
I saw it on my YouTube feed, and I didn't click on it. I should have. I will
yeah,
go look.
so
But that's the only thing.
it's
Overall, I was extraordinarily happy with the film. There's a lot of stuff that is shown in the film that's not explained that the book readers are going to get, that the
so
casual person in the Dune universe may not get. But overall, I thought it was very well done, and I'm really looking forward to the second film. I feel like I'm in Chris's position whenever Force Awake or whenever Last Jedi came out, where I'm like, I really can't fully evaluate this film until I see it the second half to be able to give a full evaluation, because it is clearly one half of a full story where the film literally just stops,
mhm.
and I assume we're going to pick right up where the last one left
So,
off. Like,
if that's your main complaint, I've got a better complaint. I think
sure.
that they shouldn't have hired the person who controls the volume from your TV show to the ads to do the audio for it, because like
Yeah.
some of those fucking musical bits are real loud.
Yeah.
Like
So when I watch so and I think that's Denis' style, because when I watched 24 Blade Runner 2049,
Yeah.
I can attach my hearing aids to, or have them connect to my TV and stuff, and I literally had to have my hearing aids in to watch that, because the music and the talking just don't mix right.
yeah,
For a person with hearing loss, they don't mix correctly. So it's the same thing with Dune too. When I watched Dune, I didn't use my hearing aids this time. I put the closed captioning on,
Yep.
and so I could follow everything that's going on and being said, because the movie sound, and that's just, I think, his style. I've seen um what's the movie with Hawkeye in it, and what's her name about the aliens coming? Arrival.
Arrival. Was it Arrival or yeah,
Yeah, it's
maybe.
Arrival. Yeah, it's Arrival. I've seen that like 30 times, but that one has some of that same sound issue too. So I just think it's the way Denis makes
yeah.
films.
See, I disagree with that. I think that's a modern film thing. I think it's something to do with the new Dolby sound, that if you're not set up for full surround sound,
But
you get a,
this was at the cinema.
which is done
Like
in Dolby.
yeah,
And I'm not disagreeing. I've had this problem with films, I want to say the last 5 years at least, where the music is always loud and booming, but you have to turn the volume up to hear whatever is being spoken on film, and then some big fight scene happens where there's explosions and you have to get to grab the remote and drop the volume down because it's blowing out everyone's eardrums.
Hmm.
but it's all like the atmospheric music was really loud. I felt, I mean, it was impactful and good. It's not it wasn't a real complaint. It's just whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I like
It's
I wanted to go on to Ed's actual point about it. Obviously, I'm in I'm not gonna say unique position. I'm sure a million people are like, oh, I'm reading Dune now, but like I was halfway, not even, I was like a quarter of the way through it when I went to watch the film, because I was like, I wanted to watch it in cinema, and I'm like, I'm not going to finish the book in time, so I'll just go and watch it. And then, like, I don't think it's a movie choice. I think it's emulating the writing style, because none of that like Mentap stuff's explained in the book yet.
The word mentat has been sped.
Yeah, it's not said. It's written, but it's not explained what one is. No one says, "Oh, Mentap, go and do some brain computer shit for us, buddy."
Or
And like,
if you
why they're
if
meant
you
to
go
exist.
but if you go back and look at the Lynch version of it, basically the entire backstory is the beginning when what's her name, the the Emperor's daughter is telling you about the planets,
Hmm.
Gedi Prime and all those, basically telling you the entire backstory at that point, which he didn't do in this. And
So
She's in the movie, but she doesn't
I
even
would
speak a
I'm
word.
gonna guess that you two will know this, but I might be wrong. So if not, it might. But like, um, when Blade Runner originally came out, it wasn't supposed to have the Harrison Ford voiceover at the start.
Correct. That was edited
Yeah,
in later.
yeah, it was added in because the studio felt that the audience was too stupid to understand what was happening if it wasn't spelled out for them.
Well,
So what
I
I
don't think they particularly phrased it that way. I think the phrase was along the lines, "The movie doesn't have a beginning. It just jumps right into the story."
mhm.
I
but
think that's the but I agree with you that that's probably what they were saying.
Yeah. And I think that Ed's complaint is that people are too stupid to watch this. And I mean, because the only way to explain it is either to have an exposition bunny hop in and go, "Oh, what's happening? Why did his eyes do that? Oh, well, listen here, Sonny.
But they do
And
it
I
for
think,
other things.
What
yeah, but
in that specific movie, what do they do it for?"
They discuss Leto's plan for why he felt that the Fremen were so important. Something that the Lynch
But
film ignored.
yeah, but in that's well, I can't even fucking
well, they did that with
what
Duncan. They did that through Duncan's
yeah,
storyline
yeah.
Yeah,
in this movie, with basically Duncan came back stating he thinks the Fremen are more important than people think.
Yeah,
And
but
I think that it's very difficult. I've never read Dune, and I've picked it up probably 5 times and have tried to read it 5 times and just can't get through because of the way he writes. But it's to me, I think this is one of those movies that is nearly impossible to make and make everybody happy.
oh
see,
yeah,
the one thing that I always everyone always shits on this part for the Lynch film. The one thing that I loved about the Lynch film, because it was the first time I'd ever seen voiceovers of what characters were thinking. That's the one thing when everyone always makes the complaint
that's
of
so lazy though.
the book is better than the film because you never really know what the characters are thinking. And I get the argument, but it fills in a lot of those gaps with the voiceovers. Did it? Oh, it was
But so
way
what it
overdone.
actually does is go, oh man, this fucking actor can't act, so we better just explain what's going on for you
Yeah,
because
Well, I
some of
mean,
they're
the
too
isn't
much of a
isn't
shitter.
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
that what doesn't though the internal monologue like that go back to silent films? I
yeah.
mean, it was very, I've watched a lot of silent films, which I'm not a fan of silent films, but I've watched a lot of them, and without that, expression of what they're saying in silent films, you would never figure out what the hell was going on in most of them.
Yeah.
Metropolis, you wouldn't have a clue if they didn't put in what the hell they were talking about, because it makes no fucking sense
Uh,
otherwise.
the only one that the only choice that feels off to me, and I'm not a fan of because of my interpretation of the book and the characters, is Jessica in the movie feels completely off to Jessica in the book
She is, and
because
I will agree with that
she's
100%.
just in the book she's very poised and all of this internal strife, but obviously you can't. It's really hard to convey that without Ed's point of an internal monologue. So
And
Exactly,
that's
she
exactly,
the, they portray it through her being a wreck and
and
like
she's
I
not
think it's
composed,
yeah, it started off okay, like putting the hand in the box when she was outside the door. I it
and
felt
saying the
okay
prayer.
there, yeah, but the further it went, the more I was just like, man,
so I
uh,
100% agree with you. If they have one character that I feel that they got incorrect, it was definitely Jessica's character,
But
100%.
if you listen to what Denis has said, is that in Act Two, or in the
yeah,
second
but
part of this, she's going to explode like a monster, basically. And the hardest part, I think, is is it all depends what your interpretation of the story of Dune and whose eyes it's through. Because if you think it's through the eyes of at this point, Jeremy or Chalamet's character, if you
Timothy.
think it's
Yeah.
if you think it's through his eyes, then it changes the way that Lady Jessica looks. If you think it's through Lady Jessica's eyes, it changes the way all this stuff looks, and that's the hardest part in this is that whose eyes are you watching this movie through, especially if you've read the book, because when
I'm
I
watching it
when
through
I watch
Drax's
it,
eyes.
when I watch it,
So
it's
disappointing he
interesting
didn't
to
play a
me
bigger
because
role.
to me the way that I view Lady Jessica at this point is she's the protector of Paul. Right now, she's the protector of Paul, and she's the one who's trying to push Paul without. And this is through my eyes, Kris. This is through the way that I view it. Is that her character is there to guide Paul to the next step, to where Paul becomes, because in the book there's a 2-year gap. What
Yes.
people don't get is that there's a 2-year gap. If you watch the David Lynch film, you would never have thought there was a 2-year gap.
Mm-mm. They glance over it with these recycled battle sequences. A
Exactly.
scene of Kyle MacLachlan and what the heck was her name? Who played Sean?
Chani. Oh,
Oh,
Sean Young.
Sean Young. Thank you. They're kissing, and their love grew, and then boom, we're 2 years later. But they never tell you
They
that.
don't tell you that, but that is the timeline from in the book is 2 years.
No, I can't see Jessica. Like, she doesn't. She's not protecting him. If she was protecting him, she would have fought her own battle, wouldn't she?
No, that's not what I'm talking.
Uh,
I'm not talking about like protection, like her
yeah,
getting out in front. Because at the beginning, when
she.
he meets the Fremen clan, she does. She's the one who throws herself in front of Paul, tells Paul to get GTFO, and
Uh,
she's the one who basically attacks,
I think the. I think
the
there's two
leader.
big character bits were missing for me from her story. I think um I forgot the old woman's name with the knife.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
Totally
I
yeah.
think
dies.
she needed to draw the blood because in the movie she doesn't draw blood with the knife,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
which lessens that moment. And I think the scene in the
Oh,
botanical
for the
garden,
You're talking about the Fremen woman, right?
yeah, the old Fremen woman when she,
Yeah,
that's
I know who you're talking
uh,
about, but
Shadow
yeah,
Knights.
yeah,
yeah.
and then the bit where she finds a warning in the botanical garden in the book, I think is an important
Well,
setting to her what her
yeah,
second role is, because obviously you get the bit where
isn't there like a feast in the book too?
Yeah,
Or
and that
like
scene
a
is
dinner that isn't in either movie that
yeah, and that scene is
a
kinda
lot of the Dune book people say needs to be in the movie. And
I
the thing I'm hoping for, Kris, out of all of this is what I'm hoping for is that we get this assembly of the movie, we get the second part, we get that assembly of the movie, which hasn't been made yet. That's the other thing is that all of his choices can be retconned, basically like they did in Star Wars by adding
I,
in flashbacks or anything that they want to do to retcon it.
I
But
don't think
my
anything necessarily needs retconning. It's because
no,
again,
no,
it's not really a
I'm not talking about
complaint.
retcon.
I'm not complaining though. What I'm saying is that her character was different to how I experienced her character in the book.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree with
that
you.
doesn't mean that her portrayal of this character in the movie is wrong, because this character in the
Right,
movie is a different character to a character in the book. Because they all
but
are. But
in a 2.5, 3 hour long movie, I think as a director you have to choose. You have to choose who are we following in this, and both directors who have made this movie have decided to follow Paul as the main character. Where, in my opinion, if I were the one from all of my understandings of the book is about Paul, but it's really Lady
the
Jessica is gigantic in the book.
the first one I would agree with.
Yes. Now my point
well,
is that
are we
in this,
looking forward to Dune 4 when Duncan Idaho's back?
well, is that
The
like which one is that? Children of Dune or
I think
whatever?
it's Children of Dune, and that's like what 1,000 years in
500,
the
500,000 years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, where they clone him.
Because
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh man,
Don't
what
they
the fuck's
find
got
his
all these
body or
people I was
something and
excited
reclone him?
about, and they're all just dead. They're all dead, man. What the fuck?
I mean, here's the thing. I've seen two iterations of this story in movie form. I know I've never watched the series and whenever
Second
that
one's
came out.
pretty good. It suffers from everything that ever was on the Sci-Fi Channel, with the exception of Battlestar Galactica. It was very under budget. So the costume work, if you're willing to suspend your disbelief and recognize that the CG is going to look bad and the costumes are going to look bad because they didn't have a ton of budget, and if you just focus in on the story and the acting, it's good. I really did like especially the Children of Dune that they did after, that kind of sums up Children and Heretic all in one. It's a good series if you get to watch all three, the both series back to back. It is going to look like crap. I have
Yeah.
no other way to explain it. It was on Sci-Fi Channel. How Battlestar Galactica got the budget that they did to look as good as they did, and then this was the output for the Dune. That having, I feel like we've been shitting on this movie for like 45 minutes. I need to admit, like, I absolutely loved it, and I'm really happy with how it came out overall. All of the things that I've complained about are little nitpicky things more than anything, because I'm a fan. Because I'm a fan of the series, I'm gonna have my little nitpicky things.
Yeah. So I would say, like, if June's like an 8 out of 10, like Arcane's probably a 9. So there you
Okay,
go.
yeah, pull it in
What
full circle.
Yeah.
what is a nine?
Arcane.
Arcane, the League of Legends TV
Oh,
show
the
that's
League of
on.
Legend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to say this. Now I did watch Foundation on Apple TV. I enjoyed it. I've never read the book,
Never
so
read
I've
those either.
never read the series, but I enjoyed the show because the show. So with me, I lose interest with pacing. So my ADHD kicks in, and
I
it's
heard that.
GTFO. I cannot, like, the Expanse is so good because there's only a few slow spots and the pacing is just there. Battlestar Galactica until you got to season 4 or 4.5, whatever they call it, and really
Um,
part of season 3, the
Battlestar
pacing was
Galactica ends
terrible.
when they get to New Caprica. That's the end of that show.
Yes.
It's finished.
Yes, I would agree with that portion of it, and then you get to, like, Battlestar
No,
Galactica
but
1980.
there isn't any more. It's done.
Well, it's like BSG 1980 after that, where, are you going to watch the knockoffs?
Yeah.
But Foundation was really good. It's the only reason why I subscribed to Apple Plus. Now I can cancel till season 2 comes out.
Yep.
But it was enjoyable. It's a good way, because I like that dystopian style, that dystopian feel that you get out of that. Where Dune is, like, to me, like, there's three things that I like. I like that Star Wars, or the sci-fi that is space driven, like Battlestar Galactica, although that kind of is a different trope for me. But, like, Battlestar Galactica and can't think, my brain's farting out, but that and the Expanse are like one and the same to me as far
Yeah,
as
I
style
can
goes,
I can totally see
because
that.
it's driven based upon humanity, humanity as we know it, where Star Wars and things like that are based upon that far flung, that story a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
It's a
Then
fantasy, not a sci-fi.
yeah, it's not a sci-fi, it's more of a fantasy. And then I like that dystopian, or future that's really weird, really bleak style. I like that.
You
Or
watched that?
I like post-apocalyptic. Those are the
Did you
three.
watch Altered Carbon?
There you go.
I've watched the first season all the way through.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I watched a little
I
bit of a second season, but it kind of lost my interest. I get
That's
it.
where my 80 my
Yeah,
Because they
if they
they
would have.
shift they shift the actor for the main character
yeah, that's a big
with
thing. And
justifiable
yeah,
reasons. But
yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I had the same
And I
jumping off.
actually like Anthony Mackie as an actor.
Same
I
here.
did not like him in Altered Carbon. he didn't fit to me, and that's just, and it's not for any reason other than that story was nowhere near as good as the first one.
Yeah,
That
but
that that storyline was kind of like watching Doctor Who, you know, the
Thank you. You're another person that's given that analogy that makes sense to me.
where you hit some seasons that are so bad, that the last two doctors, they're just shitty writing all the way around, and that's what I felt Altered Carbon season 2 was that way. If they would have kept it, I think, with the same actor doing the same thing again, it probably would have been just as good as the first season. But I get it. I understand why they couldn't, because that's not the storyline.
Has
yeah,
anyone seen Wheel of Time yet?
no,
Nope.
not yet. I'm
What
probably
is that
gonna
on?
skip
What
it.
is that on?
Amazon.
Amazon
It's
Prime.
on
Yeah,
Prime. Okay, yeah, I'll probably watch it.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna
I heard though it's not the books. I heard it's like the setting after the books. That's what I've heard.
I don't know. So here's the catch. I'm gonna commit a nerd faux pas here. I've never read the series. By
yeah,
the
same
time
team.
I by the time I'd heard about the series, they were already like 11 or 12 books into the series. And I was like, I don't know if I want to pick up a series that big right now.
So
Kind of
I'm
thing.
kind of the opposite. So I did a bunch of like Raven Feast stuff where it's a bunch of different sagas and like spans a massive amount of time, and there's like bunch of trilogies or 4 book
Hmm.
series is in there, and I really enjoyed all that. But the difference for me for Wheel of Time stuff is he died, so it's not. I'm not going to read something that
Yeah,
because I
what is it?
don't.
Robert Jordan's the one who
Yeah,
was the original author.
yeah, I don't care how good the transition is. It's not. It's my
It's not the
fear.
original.
It's my fear for Game of Thrones.
Yes.
If I'm left with the ending being what the showrunners did because Martin never finishes it, I I won't. It'll detract from me, and this is something I always argue against. So I'm being very hypocritical here, but it will detract from my enjoyment. I will. I'm currently. I reread books all the time. I'm
Same.
fan. I like comfort of that story,
Same.
but I will not reread Game of Thrones
So I'm
because
waiting until they
I'm not.
finish.
Yeah, I'm not investing more into it because it will detract from it if he doesn't. If I don't get his story, and I
I
don't.
have
Like,
him.
I'm not even
I have his.
rewatching it. Like, I
I
can't.
have him on I have him on the Kindle ready to go, but I want. See, that's my problem with things. Is I have a hard time watching series
Right? Here,
that are in progress because of my ADHD, where I fall off, and then if at any point I don't like something, I'm done. You know, that's why I took a huge risk watching The Expanse, because
well worth it for that one.
well, that was a good deep dive, but it all comes down to, like, to me, there's two book series that have been that movie makers have totally missed out on. One is the Incarnation of Immortality series by Piers Anthony. That one, somebody should pick that up and make it, out of the 7 books, into 7 movies. It would be incredible.
Or 7
And
seasons of a great show.
correct, yeah, 7 seasons of a great show if you can get the budget, because it'd be a high budget show.
Mhm.
The second one is R.A. Salvatore
Oh god, would I love
and
to see that.
the Crystal Shard series and the
Yeah.
Dro Underdark series, and
Yes.
do them with the Dro Underdark series first, and then have him meet Brunor and Caddy Bree and those guys, and make that into a long series, because to me that's D&D. That
Yes.
So
storytelling that he does is D&D.
Not the piece of shit that they threw up on film of the Dungeons and Dragons movie with, and
Mhm.
again, I don't Jeremy Irons,
so
I love Jeremy Irons, I really do, but good god, did he ham it up in that movie?
Mhm.
I don't know if this is an accurate representation of like Greg's opinion, but I'll go throw it out there anyway. But like, I would argue on Greg's behalf. I haven't read it, but Dragonlance would be a better adaptation.
So
So
Dragonlance is the opposite to me. I didn't like Dragonlance in that I didn't totally get Dragonlance. Like I never got the world. I never got what Kryn really stood for. And I played the video games. I read some of the books, but I never really understood like what people really liked about it. I could never figure that out. Where like I loved Greyhawk. I loved what Gary Gygax did with Greyhawk and what Gary Gygax did with Mordenkainen and what Gary Gygax did with that entire world. That to me felt like D&D. When you get to Forgotten Realms, which is Ed Greenwood's world, or that
mhm.
world that Ed Greenwood played in, it's different. You know, but I still like that one because, of course, that's where Drizzt lives and exists and all that. Which I can say, if I were ever to build a world, it would be an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah,
Because
that's the reason why Forgotten Realms is like the default setting for D&D because it's
well, it's also a planet that's if you take Oerth, which is the planet that is uh, Greyhawk's in, and you stick it into the Forgotten Realms, the planet of Forgotten Realms is gigantic compared to
yeah.
that.
Oh man,
The,
it's a weird, really weird, isn't it? How like some of your characters are from one world, and then the others are like from
yeah,
a different one. And you're all just
yeah.
bumbling around Barovia. It's weird,
All right, so
weird.
Well, yeah,
I've got
well,
two things I'm going to pump on here real quick. First of all, they did make a Dragonlance movie. It was an
yes, they
animated.
did.
It was an animated
So
film.
what I'm talking about is now.
Kiefer Sutherland did the voice for Raceland, and it was shit. I was so excited when that movie came out. I'm like, yes, they're going to finally do Dragonlance, and it was so poorly done. It was almost as bad as how they misrepresented Dungeons and Dragons in the Dungeons and Dragons movies. It
Right.
was it was Dragonlance. It was a shitty animated movie with a Dragonlance logo thrown on it. It- So I was so disappointed with that. And the second one, of course, is I just learned that there's a book that I need to go and get that talk about other realms that are trapped in the mist other than Ravenloft. Because up until this
Hmm.
point in time in my life, I did not
But
realize that
oh
there were
yeah,
other realms
Oh, there's
other than
tons of them.
Ravenloft.
There's hundreds
I
of
did
them.
not
yeah.
realize that. I don't know how I missed that in my Dungeons
The,
and Dragons
there's like
theology class.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, there's the Mummy,
The
the
yeah,
Frankenstein.
yeah.
Yeah, there's all different, and
So now
basically
I've got
there's
to get that book
anything
just
you
so I can read
want.
up on that.
Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yeah,
To yes, yeah, but you have to go back to second edition to really love it because what they've done with it today is just so watered down. It's just unbelievable.
yeah.
You got to get the and I'm not sure if I have it. I don't know if I have it or not anymore. I'd have to go look, but there is actually a book that talks about a lot of them.
We probably have it in the store. It's fine.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, and it's just to me my favorite to run is definitely the Realm of Terror because that's really what it
Ooh.
is. You got to remember it's not it's the Realm of Terror. That's really what you're in, and then Strahd has a Barovia within the Realm of Terror, and it's a demi-plane. It's not a full plane of
No,
existence. It's a
I
demi.
knew that.
It's
It
a
just
demi-plane, and nobody really knows truly where it's at. It just pulls right from prime planes, and it pulls them out.
You guys have seen what's underneath it. Just nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Just
mean,
nothing. Yeah.
underneath it, until something formulates. There could be an underworld
Yeah.
world underneath where Strahd is at that you don't even have a clue because some evil fire giant or something that lived in the underworld, or the
Yeah.
Drow for that matter could be there.
Yeah.
That's why the Realm of Terror is probably the coolest one that there is because it's to me it's a no holds barred, no rule matters, because if you go back to the original Realm of Terror and you look at what clerics can do, they're very limited in the original. Not in fifth edition, but in first edition, second edition, clerics were very limited. They couldn't reach out to their gods, so their spells, spell lists were
Oh, wait, this
extremely
does
shrunk
sound
down.
familiar now that you're saying that. I do
Yes.
recall that being a rule.
Yep. It
Huh.
is.
I wonder, was that in the manual of the planes that they talk about that? Because I might
Nope.
have to.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Ravenloft is a whole different series. It came way after the manual of the planes and all that.
No, I know, but when they talk about the realm of terror, because like I'm trying to imagine like that cosmology they did for D&D, where like I'm thinking like the Planescape book where they showed like all of the individual realms, prime material, positive, negative planes, and like they've always shown like the mists kind of like this roaming around the cosmology of D&D, and I know I have read that before. Now that you've said that, that's gonna bother me now to try to
Well,
figure.
your planes, you have the inner planes, the outer planes, and
Mhm.
then you have the demi planes. And you have the ethereal plane is kind of the one that sits in between everything. You go through the ethereal
Right.
plane. So you have the prime planes, which there's a multiverse. So multiple prime planes exist, which is what Kryn is, which is what
Like,
Awerth is, which is what
yeah.
uh, you know uh, all of those are. But when you get down to it, they all connect through the ethereal plane, which then from there you have and it may have changed over the years, but I'm just going off my knowledge of first edition.
First edition, second edition, D&D
Yeah, because
cosmology.
the abyss and hell are two different planes of
Yes.
existence.
One says devils, one have demons.
Correct. One has 9 planes, and one has infinite, but at least 666 planes.
And you always see it as this, the little looping thing as it goes down deeper into the abyss.
Yeah. I mean, I could go grab the book, but I don't know if we want to continue down this road since we still have Ed's flight deck to talk
Oh
about.
God, I haven't even talked about my stuff yet. No, we just went completely off script on this one. All right, I'll get my stuff out of the way real quick
Oh,
so we
well,
can
I've not
continue.
finished yet. Oh,
Oh,
fucking hell.
when were
It's my fight deck.
my goodness? By all means, please
God.
continue.
He's
Uh,
just on page 1 of his 40-page flight deck.
As
Look,
long as I
man,
can
it's
hear
not
you
my
turn the
fault. You
page.
two went and like riffed off my fight deck. Jesus.
Yeah, you could
Um,
just see Dune,
so
and then that
I
started a 45-minute conversation.
so I finished the new Thrawn book, Lesser Evil. It's really good. Puts a nice bow on that trilogy. It's like
How much is it? Does it completely? I guess it would have to completely retcon his character from the Zahn series at this point.
oh, so this is before he has any contact with. So the way they were released is that the new Thrawn trilogy came out, which is like pre Rebels.
So it's pre-Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
Prior to the
well,
Empire.
so obviously, Earth of the Empire theoretically could still be canon in the timeline, and nothing would have to change. I'm not arguing for that. I don't really care. I can still read them and enjoy them because
Yep,
that's
Yep.
because they're
after
fantastic.
Jedi. But
Yes.
And that is the end of Thrawn's story.
yeah, yeah. But
If you
the
stay within
Until Rebels came along, and then we
yeah.
don't know what the end of his story is anymore.
Well, we do.
No, no, no,
That's what
no,
I
we
mean.
do. We
The
do.
end of his story can still be the Earth of the Empire.
Right.
Um,
The last command when he's killed by the Nograi, spoiler alert, when he's killed by the
it was
Nograi.
88, 89 when that series came out. Oh, come on.
Uh,
Anyway,
Um,
he's killed by the Nograi well after, I mean, pre garbage, 3 garbage movies, if you want to call it that. It's yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
before they got relegated to Legends. Yes.
Correct.
yeah. But so the first trilogy is his exposure to the Empire and him coming up in the ranks and earning his commission and all of that. Um, and ends like before ish Rebels timeline. Like you meet Minister Tua in there and all of that, and it gets fleshed out there. The second Thrawn trilogy is his time in the Chiss Ascendancy, um, and so pre-Empire.
So
So
it's the prequel to his trilogy.
yeah,
Interesting.
but it's so literally you're reading it. So Sean will love it. You're reading about it, and there's no Jedi's because they don't exist in the Ascendancy. Like
Yep.
the
Well, they do. They're just
Republic.
not part of the story.
No, but they don't exist in the Chiss Ascendancy and the Chaos and the Sparta Space series. The Republic hasn't reached there. They have no foothold. There's nothing. So the
Uh,
Jedi don't exist. No one.
Mm,
If you were to say to someone, "Have you seen that Jedi?" They're like, "What?"
gotcha.
gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's it, it still manages to be Star Wars without being Star Wars. So
So it's like a solo story of Star Wars,
yeah, it's
where
good.
it's Star Wars with not really being Star Wars. You
Yeah,
know.
I enjoyed it. It still feels like Thrawn. It's good. I would recommend. Then I'm back to obviously I'm reading Dune at night on my Kindle. I'm listening to Ravener Rogue at the moment. So the third Ravener
Ooh.
book, which is Warhammer 40,000 um, Inquisitors going around doing stuff. Makes me want to run 40k RPGs. No, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Fun.
And that's my flight deck.
So really
Aw.
quick, I do have to ask a question on Chris's flight deck. So the 40K RPG, is that the one that Fantasy Flight made, or is that a different one?
This is a new one. So there's
The Fantasy Flight
um,
ones were first.
Dark Heresy was by Black Library, and then Fantasy Flight took it over when they got the license.
Yep.
And then they so Dark Heresy is pretty much Games Workshop's own. Then you get into the Black Crusade Space Marine parts of it, which is a lot more of FFG stuff, just cashing in for the easy money, basically. Like,
Right.
yeah, Space Marine, yeah, blah, and then whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the good stuff was pre FFG. And then this one, it was originally by not Ulysses, some German company begins with U. Got lots of S's and L's in it, but I can't remember. And then it's been taken over by Cubicle 7 because the quality control of the actual physical product was atrocious. And Games Workshop just went, nah,
Nah, we're not gonna let you
nah.
keep this.
Yeah. So it went to Cubicle 7. But I've got
Gotcha.
pretty much everything that's released for that. That is my version of Ed's Alien Obsession.
That's good. I'm still waiting for them to announce. I'm still waiting for Free League to announce the next expansion to the Alien RPG. Anyway, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen it for the Christmas season. But alas, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, so mine's not going to be nearly as long, or hopefully it doesn't have nearly as many spin-offs. I
Good,
hope.
because it's like an hour and 43 minutes into a recording.
All right, so what have I done in the last couple of weeks? We got some 40K in. So to get into the reason why my game only lasted 2 turns, Kris, I don't know how things work at the Century Box. What I can tell you how things have traditionally worked at my local game store has always been the same for years and years and years, and suddenly they've changed and I don't like it. So traditionally, what would happen on Tuesday nights and Friday nights, obviously for Friday Night Magic, while the sign outside of the store does say that they close at 8 p.m., traditionally that has never been enforced. Simply because they know that Tuesdays and Fridays are the nights that most people are in there. They're spending the most money on those days, and games will go on till about like 9:30 before people button up and head home. The store has hired a new employee who I don't even know his name, because you walk in the door, he kind of gives you the nod, and then that's it. No interaction whatsoever. Like, all of the other employees are personable. They'll strike up conversations. They'll get involved in the nerdy talk if we're talking about anime or we're talking about Star Wars or we're talking about. Not this guy. And this guy, it's 8 o'clock. Literally, the lights go out, and he's like, "All right, 5 minutes before I'm out of here, button up." What doesn't matter where you are. or what you're doing, it's 8 o'clock. By 8:05, we've got to be out. And for the working stiff, even like, so we've gone back into our COVID protocol is actually taking a step backwards. At work, we're going back to twos and twos or twos and threes, meaning I'm in the office 3 days a week this week, and then the next week I'm in the office 2 days a week, which means we're reducing the amount of time that we're actually on site. So even with that, I still work until 5 o'clock. My commute is literally close my laptop lid, throw everything into the car, and get out there. I'm at the store by 6 o'clock. That gives me 2 hours. By the time you get a table set up, set your objectives up, grab all of your armies, get everything out and about, roll to goes first, deploy, you're not really starting a game till about 6:45, which gives me an hour and 15 minutes to potentially play a game, which has become extraordinarily frustrating. The last two games that I've played at the store, when you get to a point like Chad and I got to the end of turn two, and he looks at his watch and goes, "It's 5 minutes to 8. We might as well start buttoning up." Like, you haven't even gotten the full game in. You haven't even gotten, like, there was enough that we could probably determine who was going to win. But it's a dice game. All kinds of crazy shit could happen in that, and it's getting genuinely frustrating for me. So, like, my hope is that they move this guy to a different time slot other than Tuesday nights, because enough people are complaining about it. Like, I get it. The sign outside the door says 8 o'clock, but that has never been the case in the years and years and years that we've come and going to this store. All of a sudden, it's now a thing. Like, I want the other guy back. The guy that was here before that was like, yeah, no, 9 o'clock, 9:30. Whenever you guys button up, I want that guy back. So in any case,
Mm.
so I did get a game in. I got basically 2 turns in. Tyranids are awesome. I had to commit a cardinal sin, and I actually fielded 10 Gene Stealers that were unpainted on Tuesday, because as I adjusted my list, I went, oh, I've totally got 45 Gene Stealers painted, and it turns out I have 30 Gene Stealers painted, as opposed. So I had to field 10 unpainted Gene Stealers. So now I've got to fix that, because that's one of the things I pride myself on, is every time I field anything on my army, they're all fully painted. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, I get a game in. I mean, technically, we played 2 turns of a game. I probably was going to win that game because Gene Stealers are awesome. Um, but that's really about it gaming wise that I was able to get done. Now, to get to the story of Ed's really stupid sometimes, Black Friday happened. So if you're not in the US, how this usually works, Thanksgiving is on a Thursday, last Thursday of the year. The
Of the
following,
year.
well, the last Thursday of November, I'm sorry. The following Friday is called Black Friday, which is when all of the stores put all the kind of crap on sale. It's the ramp up for the holiday shopping season. I don't know if there's an equivalent in Canada. I don't know if there's equivalent in other.
It's called Black Friday.
Okay, so you guys do, all right, it's the same thing. Perfect. So our retro game store has their Black Friday sales where everything's 15% off. So it's, Carrie's way of getting people into the store and, selling a whole bunch of stuff on that day. So I'm off that day. I called off on that day. Well, not called off, scheduled off, and swung by the retro game store because I'm trying to finish off this Wii collection that I'm hoping to pick up. And I'm standing in line, and conversations going across. And one of the things he's doing is every hour on the hour he's pulling something out of a hat and saying, "This is what's I'm going to give an additional 5% off of this, so whatever it is 20% off." And what he pulls out of the hat while I'm standing in line is, well, PlayStation 3. He's like, so all PlayStation 3 things and all PlayStation 3 consoles are, now 20% off. And he could see me. I've established eye contact with him. I said, well, the only thing that would really interest me in the PlayStation 3, because I've never owned one before, is I want one of the backwards compatible ones. So that if I'm buying a PlayStation 3, I'm getting really a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2 altogether. And he
Yep.
smiles and walks over to the shelf and goes, "Look what I have."
Yeah.
Normally this is $200 in my store, but right now it's $160. And I went, "Give it to me." So sitting right beside me is a fully backwards compatible PS3. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's got a few
Is it
services.
the slim one as well?
No, it's the fat one. The slim
Uh,
ones were so the slim. Every PlayStation,
False, because mine's slim
every
and backwards compatible.
backwards
You,
compatible for PS1. Yes, I agree.
yeah.
Every PlayStation 3 was backwards compatible between PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 3. Not every PlayStation 3 model can play PlayStation 2 games. Mine can.
I've got Metal Gear Solid Sins of Liberty.
On a slim?
Yeah.
Now that's
Did you-
interesting because
I don't know which one. It was the Dust 514 download one. I don't know.
oh well, if
Can't
you
remember.
downloaded it, that's a
No,
different story.
no, as in that was the Dust 514 was the game that it came with as a download only, and um, one of the Far Cry's or Fallout. No, Far Cry 4, I think. Not Uncharted 4. I don't even fucking know. A game I never even played because literally I only play my PlayStation 1 games on it.
Gotcha. So they did bring over PlayStation 2 games for download, but what I'm talking is I
Yeah,
can take a
I've
PlayStation 2 disc and put it in and it will play the game.
I mean, if it wasn't gonna be such bad audio and visuals, I would walk over to the TV, sit on the couch behind me, and turn it on and double check that that disc actually works. I'm sure I've played it.
Because all the research I did is there were only two models that were backwards compatible for the PS2. Because when they started making it cheaper, the first thing they did was they removed the PS2 backwards compatibility.
So I heard a story about this literally yes Friday. Yeah, it was yesterday on the radio. So what's interesting is that Xbox did the same thing where the first ones that came out were backwards compatible, and then when they did their late year run, because they did the Slims
Mm-hmm.
later, they didn't have the backwards compatibility.
Yeah, that's how they
And
cheapen up on it. They remove some of the hardware from it to make it cheaper.
I'll message
correct.
you later. I'll try it once we're done. I'll message you.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Xbox did the same thing, but now that's pretty much why Xbox has their whatever it is, their Play Store thing where you can pay the fee every year or every month and then have access to, over 400 titles
Right.
for
The
Xbox.
the only argument that I have, some my kids ask me about. So literally right here on my, I've got a PS3, I've got a PS4 that's going to get replaced this Christmas with a PS5 so that it can go. So I have the entire PlayStation history. So any game that PlayStation's ever produced, with the exception of like 17 games, we have hardware capable of playing all of those games.
I
So
just play
that's
them on my PS Vita, which I just like hacked and then did all the stuff so I can play
no, and
PlayStation games on that.
it's not like I don't have a Raspberry Pi upstairs that can play PS1 games. Really, what I wanted it for was for the PS2 games. Because, like, legitimately, any game that I want to play on PS1, my Raspberry Pi can play. But this plays PS2 games, and there's a whole bunch of games that I remember as very fondly playing with PS2. Side note on this particular topic, right now, if you're into quote unquote games collecting, PS3 is dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. Whenever I buy a new console or a retro console like this, I always go through the history of like, okay, give me like the top 25, top 50 games. So I kind of know what I'm looking for. You're talking games that are like $4, $8, $7.
And
Even
the
doing
stupid thing is that a bunch of the really good PS4 games got made for PS3 as well. It's
yeah,
a
no,
really
and
good. There's modern titles for it.
yeah. Well, so and they also ported a lot of games over. So for example, one of the best games on the PS3 was The Last of Us, but The Last of Us got an HD a remaster in the PS4, which we own. So I'm obviously not going to buy that game. But there's like the Mass Effect series, for example, was some of those games were ported over to PS4, but not all of them. The Dead Space series was not ported over to PS4, to my knowledge. So my point is it like legitimately.
I know we've
I
had this conversation already, Ed. I'm really sorry, but
no, go ahead.
PS3 is 15 years old.
I know, I
Oh.
know, I know. My
Oh.
point is, so legitimately for about $50, I've got like 25 games sitting there because there's like the PS3. Like I'm really shocked at how. Usually, what ends up happening is when any console, having bought so many of them and bought games for it, here are the top 10 games. And, these everyone's like, if you're going to play this console, these are the games you're going to play. You're going to, like, some of those games are like 25, 30, 35, 30. Like, that's the average, no matter what console you're looking for, older consoles. For these, it was like $3, $4. Like, they're just dirt cheap right now. So yeah, so I've got a whole bunch of cool games we're sitting there. The only thing I'm struggling finding is an OEM controller. The place where I was at didn't have any. We have these cheapy knockoff ones, and they just feel cheap. And like that's always the ones like whenever you had friends over, that's the controller you let your friend use because like yeah, you've got one if you need it. Like it's the emergency one if the remote battery dies. Like okay, I'll pick this one up while the other
So
remote's
so they
charging.
felt like PS1 controllers.
Not even that. Do you remember?
PS1 controllers were terrible. PS2 controllers were awesome because that's when
Uh,
they came with the dual
PS1 controls were
slot.
amazing until they added the stick.
Do you remember Mad Catz?
Yes,
Do you remember
yes.
like the Mad Catz PS1 controllers? That's what this feels like. Because like when you all right, I'll give Sony credit. When you pick up a PlayStation controller, an OEM PlayStation controller, there's some weight behind it. It feels
Hmm.
like you've this one here, I feel like I'm gonna break the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the cheaper ones were always cheap, but you also got the ones that had all the cheats in it too.
Yeah, you
You
had
know,
those
you
two.
yeah,
So
that you could just line the game up and it put all the codes in you needed.
yeah. So in any case, so that's been so aside from the fact that I'm trying to complete a top 25-ish of the Wii library, which is turning out to get more expensive than I thought. I'm now in the process of trying to complete like a top 40 of the PlayStation 3 library because it's as cheap as it is. And I have no idea why I'm doing it. The only reason I wanted to do it is because, and this is the only reason that it came up, was my son just got done beating Red Dead Redemption 2, and he loved the game. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to get Red Dead Redemption 1." He's like, "But the only way to get it right now on PS4 is you have to sign up for their monthly service to get it." And
Hmm.
he's like, "And I refuse to do that because you have to spend it." He's like, "I'm not doing that for one game."
What
And
game?
Red Dead Redemption, the original.
I probably got it. I'll have a look.
Well, I already,
Oh,
so do I, conveniently enough, because I went, "Oh, well, there's $200 for a console, and let's just get this game here." Oddly enough, the game's only like $8. It's
yeah.
just it took it. Now, did I have to go the backwards compatible route? No. Could I have gotten a console for like $60? Yes. But if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it the worst possible way to do it and go, oh, well, I want all of them. If I'm buying an old PlayStation game, I want all of them, or at least access to all of them. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking how I'm gonna hack it, or not necessarily hack it. So like the one that we've got is the 60 gigabyte model, and I know that 60 gigs is not gonna survive long. So I'm gonna have to probably go out and get a terabyte drive for it and reformat the flash the drive so that I can actually put it on there. But beyond that, it's been fun. I've been having oodles of fun because I never owned a PS3. Legitimately, I went from PS2 to hey crap, we're gonna have a kid. So the $600 that the PlayStation's asking for your console is way too much. So I'm just not going to do that. So we stuck with the Wii when we got it for the kids a little bit later in life. We went from the Wii to the PS4. So that was my gaming progression. So there's a whole bunch of games that are on there that I've never touched. Like I'm really looking forward to doing Dead Space and the Mass Effect series because I've heard nothing but good things about these two series of games. Just never played them.
Mm.
So that's what Ed's going to be doing over Christmas holiday. He's going to be sitting down playing old PS3 games and painting Gene Stealers and my Flying Hive Tyrant. Those are all getting done. I swear they're getting done. That's it. That was my flight deck.
Yeah. Good. Well, like the road really is long, isn't it? With 2 hours in.
It was that was a long road to get there. Maybe I should have gone second this time because we could have diverged into yours.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't even know. I'm like done now. Do you want to do news? I don't know.
Well, I mean, do you want to cover that, or do you want to save it for the next one?
Oh, it won't be news then, will it?
I guess not.
So there was spoilers. Well, not spoilers. A confirmed date. Start at the beginning. The Asmodee website apparently has the the Mandalorian pilot pack, like the Hot Shots and Aces pack they did. They've done the Mandalorian one and the Razor Crest. They're up for pre-order apparently on the Asmodee website, and it says February 28th. So like end of February should have the Razor Crest.
Finally,
And
can't wait.
I actually have a copy of the Aces High kit now, so they're out in the wild. So
Ooh,
yeah. And then did I say there was anything else? I can't remember now. It was so long
I
ago, hours ago.
I wrote stuff down. It was Aces High and it was Mandalorian. That was the two
Yeah,
things I wrote down for our pseudo show notes
yeah. Um,
that Ed writes himself to remind him, hey, remember to mention this.
yeah. Then the only so the Aces High pack will I'll crack it open and try and send stuff out to all of the Patreons again. So if you want to support us on Patreon, that's where you get funky free stuff. We just spend more in shipping than the Patreon brings in a year. Fun times.
Operating at a zero, operating at zero income for how long have we been doing the show now? 4 years?
91 episodes.
91 episodes?
Yeah.
Operating at a loss for 91 episodes. That should, that should be our
I mean,
motto.
I'm sure if I actually, if we had a focus on actual X-Wing content and like put any effort into sharing the fact that the podcast exists in any form of social media, like whatever it auto posts is all what I do. I don't like go into the podcast groups. I don't go like Fly Better have got their like post where you can share your content. I don't
Mhm.
post on Reddit. Don't do it on the forums or anything. Yeah, whatever.
It was
People,
so much easier back in the day whenever Nova Squadron, the only thing we had to do was post in the FFG forums. That
yeah.
was it. That was sufficient to get us the
When the
market share we
FFG
wanted.
forums still existed, I didn't post this in there.
I know. But we're a very, very different show. And we've talked about this multiple, multiple times. We were trying to hit a very different target market for that, and then this show is it's just us shooting the shit and having fun. So
Yeah.
it's
I
totally
can
different.
say this: my cats are done with the show because they want their TREATSs right now. So
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good time for me to say, "Hey, Kris, don't you have some paperwork you want to do here?"
Yeah. But so we should just quickly brush through the main topic thing of like, um, like road seems okay now. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
seems like the
uh,
fervor has died down. The heat in the kitchen's a little low. I haven't heard nearly as many people complaining about it.
uh,
a
like
couple people might have actually played games with it.
not even
Maybe it might have.
it feels like obviously every time something gets announced, it's gonna AMG are ruining X-wing, and
Hmm.
then it turns out to not be that bad, and it's a next thing. So like people are obviously talking about the other stuff they brought up on stream about bumping and stuff. But like,
Mm-hmm.
do you not see the pattern here? Like, random player order is terrible. It's going to ruin the game. Road's terrible. Random player order was fine. Road's fine, but making bumps less bad is like terrible. Like, I don't. At some point, surely we have to go. Maybe these games designers are okay,
Yeah, maybe they've looked at this over the years of how the game's been designed. And said, here are areas of improvement that we can fix.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, that was it. I mean, I don't really want to dwell on it because it's a bit of a downer topic. But yeah, I don't know. Doesn't seem to be that much of a big deal. I've played a lot of games with it now, and the only things whenever it's been in play, I've found it more interesting. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it.
How
It
often would you
keeps
say?
you on your toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, how often would you say it's actually come into play? How many
Um,
games? Out of curiosity.
maybe not included in the games where we forced it to happen.
Right. With
So I
that's a controlled substance. That's like a, yeah, controlled substance. That's a controlled environment. Who's getting tired now?
yeah, maybe like 20% of my games
Yeah,
it's actually mattered.
I would say
Um,
more likely that the turn limits probably come into play more often than road has,
um,
or has that
given
even come into play? Now, maybe I shouldn't make that statement.
I've since the announcement happened properly, well, not even proper because it's still not a rule yet. But we've still been playing games with timer, and I've not had a game finish because of the turn limit yet. But that's like we're pretty laid back and chatting and stuff. Like when I was trying to blast through games when I first spoke about it, I was getting like 16 turn games kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. Turn limit seems fine,
Yeah.
especially like when you consider what it's supposed to address. Like the fact that if you play um a, your first ever 300, like so your first ever 200-point game of X-Wing, and you decided to take TIE Swarm against TIE Swarm, and you think you have to play to destruction because that's what the rulebook says, like you're still there 5 hours later.
Yep.
So yeah, that's it. So I don't even think that's that big of an issue really. Yeah, I don't know. I've been pretty positive. I've been really enjoying the game again, like revisiting like old squads, like running Vader in the X1. Now that I can spend 200 points, it just feels like I'm enjoying making lists again. So
Yeah, that's where I thought it was interesting when you talked about that Boba Fett list, where you're like, oh, he put the shield upgrade and the hull upgrade. Like, you wouldn't see those before.
yeah,
People would rather take the initiative bid than they would put those on. But now they've got to spend the points. Well, what else am I got to spend them on?
yeah,
Shield upgrade and the hull
big
upgrade
fan.
work
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
But yeah, that was it. That's all I wanted to touch on. I suppose I should mention. What was it? Um, so Alex Watkins, who used to run OP for FFG, is doing some dial giveaway of stuff for charity. He's doing a raffle.
Hmm.
Um, I'll try and remember to put the links in the show notes. But if you go to um, the fundraising raffle dash X Wing in the UK group, that's the event. And that basically it looks like it's the proofs of some dial covers that they were going to make for the 2020 season, but then
Ooh.
everything died. So like these 7 dials are apparently the only ones in existence, and like we're
Ooh.
doing a
That is
raffle to raise money
interesting.
for charity. So like the joke that I've seen is well, it won't be tournament legal. um,
I mean, I guess that's a true statement.
but whatever. Yeah, but yeah, it's in support of a good cause. So um, if you can find that, have a look and get some extremely rare X-wing stuff. Probably
Yeah,
worth more than
they actually look really good.
yeah. Um, but yeah, other than that, just the usual stuff. You can find us on Lack of Focus Podcast on Facebook. You can email us at lackoffocuspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the podcast on Patreon, in which case we'll be giving out some free stuff again this year. All the stuff should hopefully go in the mail in January, I believe, this year. Touch wood. Um, I was a shitter. I didn't get the evade tokens designed yet, so they'll follow at some point in 2022. They're coming. I just need to actually get someone to do a design so that I can get it cut properly. But there'll be evade tokens coming to everyone. But yeah, that's the Lack of Focus podcast on Patreon, or you can do it as just a flat monthly payment. for Dice Hate at Patreon. All those links are in the show notes as well. You can follow me on Instagram, but I've been pretty quiet because I've not been painting because I've just been mega tired. Um, you could follow the painting stream as well. Dice Hate on Twitch. Dice Hate
Yeah,
Kris on Twitch. It's
that
Dice Hate Kris. I'm pretty confident.
I don't want to pull Twitch up and potentially screw something up what I pre-recorded.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Dice
correct.
Hate Kris on Twitch. I've been doing a weekly painting stream with best intentions to try and do more streaming, but I've just been working all the time trying to get money. Obviously, if you guys just support us more so that I don't have to put all of that effort into only having this one source of income, then I'll be able to make more content again. But we'll see.
Just get into a swimming pool, Kris, and you're right there.
It's not even that. So I've been very close the last couple of weeks to like, on this day when Evie's in daycare, I'm gonna make some content. I'm gonna make a YouTube video or something. And then that day will come around and like a bunch of stuff will arrive at the store I've got to go in and receive, or just something else will happen. But I'm like pretty motivated to start doing some content. Like, I've been really enjoying list building again, like getting to spend all my points, doing all of that stuff. It just seems really fun. So yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else really important. So yeah, that's it.
All right. On that note, Sean, always cool to hang out with you, my friend.
Good to be here, guys. Hopefully, everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I missed the last show, so um, you know, hopefully we'll get into this new year here pretty quick and have a much better year than the last year.
Yeah, my I forgot to mention my Thanksgiving was amazing in that all of our guests that we invited were kind enough to get COVID positive tests before they came to our house as opposed to after. My sister-in-law and her two sons, COVID. Um, my not my so once my parents heard that, they were of course bailing out, and then we had other guests that we had invited. All of them came out with COVID positive results within days before Thanksgiving. So we'd already bought all the food. My wife just said, screw it, and made all the food. And we watched movies on the couch. Like, we didn't set the table up or anything. It was the most laid back, low key Thanksgiving. But I
My
had
Like
my
Christmas.
Thanksgiving was in October, so
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Do you
oh
call it
well.
Thanksgiving or is it Boxing Day for you?
Which one? Sorry,
Do you call it Thanksgiving or is it Boxing Day? Or is it
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not up with
Canadian
my Canadian.
Thanksgiving's like in October. I don't even know what date it was in October because
So you have
I'm not Canadian.
Thanksgiving and Halloween in the same month. That's interesting. Not that I'd argue. I went on record with saying with my family, like, if somehow, some way, something happened and I ended up on death row, and you have the what's your final meal before before we electrocute you kind of thing, I would pick Thanksgiving dinner. That's
What's the
what.
difference between Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner?
Ham.
Ham. Yeah, probably. That's a good one. There's ham for Christmas and not ham for Thanksgiving.
Although
Oh,
everybody I
so,
know always did ham, so for both. They do
yeah.
ham and turkey for both. There's really no difference.
At
Cookies, Christmas cookies.
Yeah,
That's right.
Toss in a crap load of sweets.
But I would just
Take pumpkin
obviously.
pie away. Get rid of pumpkin pie and go with cookies.
I suppose
which
the
is the wrong
desserts would
which
be
is
the
the wrong
different.
choice,
Yeah,
by the way.
the dessert would be the difference.
Yeah.
I generally do two different mains on Christmas, so it'll be chicken or turkey, and then something ranging from like a steak pie through to like a ham or like a roast beef joint. So you get your two different proteins.
hmm
Then, but yeah. And what you said that you and Chad were talking about D&D stuff, Ed. You were going to talk about that. I should
Oh
not
yeah,
let you miss that out.
totally forgot to mention. So we are starting D&D up again in a couple of days here. By the time you're listening, we'll be recording on Monday. So of course, he and I were talking like it's been so long since we've played. We were kind of going over, well, where were we? Like, what's left on the list of things to do? He's like, there's spots on the map that we haven't even been to yet. So we're both of us are genuinely kind of looking forward to kind of getting back to D&D because it's been a while since we played, and I'm like, I don't even remember where we were. Chris, did you do your homework and
You were
go over?
talking to the leaders of Argonvastholt, and then as you were leaving, you
Ah,
rescued Esmeralda from being ambushed by some Vistani.
I do
And
remember this
she
now.
explained that she was the apprentice to Van Richten and had come to Ravenloft to try and find him.
And that's
And
where
that,
we last left off.
and that you,
Now I
and then you
remember.
were like dancing around the fact that you stole her wagon.
Just a little. We returned it to somebody.
You gave it to Van Richten, who
Yeah.
returned it to a tower, sans all of her equipment.
Oops.
Well, it fell out.
Yeah. It fell off the wagon
Yeah.
Yeah.
and ended up on us. I don't know how that happened. It's just strange, weird how that worked out. So yeah, no, like we were like he and I got into like because we got closed out of the store at 8:05. We're sitting in the
Oh,
parking lot
I never
BSing
gave
a
I
lot.
didn't give you feedback on that either, did I? Yeah, right.
Yeah, how
So
about that?
um seems pretty normal to be honest. Like if I'm working, I'll kind of like let people chill out and finish the game as long as I don't have to be anywhere. Like, if I have to be leaving to get home for whatever reason, I'd make sure all the gamers knew well before time. But like we used to close at 9, and we had the same problems. Like you can't play 40k. It's the wrong game to pick on a weekday evening. You just can't do it. So like people play X-Wing, that's fine. You get your X-Wing game in. You play something like Kill Team, play Crisis, Crisis Protocol. All of these smaller skirmish games are all fine. But our solution is that we now open until 11. Like the door gets locked at 10:30. But ultimately, it comes down to the staff member. Like if they don't care, you're not gonna win. It's like we've got the exact same staff member. Like would rage at you as a customer being extremely rude if you were still playing at 8:45. Like why haven't you packed up yet? And like be on the Tannoy system and on the intercom, just like reminding people every 5 minutes from like
Oh,
8:30 and just like making it not a pleasant place to play. And then
yeah. So
you'd have me who'd be like, "Yeah, do what you want."
so my question to you is, so where? How do I word this? I'm trying to. In my opinion, maybe that's not the guy that works on the Tuesday night when the tabletop games are being played.
So I will play
Maybe that
devil's advocate now. So you're wanting to play 40k in the store until late, and the staff member they have isn't willing to work late, presumably because they don't get paid after a certain time or whatever. Like if he's off the clock, like it
I'm
might not
sure
have
it is.
overtime
It's
authorized.
probably something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm
So
trying to be
you
respectful of that, of
where did
course.
you buy Gabe's new Death Guard army from? Did you buy it from the store, generating money to pay that guy's wages for him to be
Yes,
open late?
Combat
Or
Patrol we bought there. The only thing that we didn't buy there um was Mortarion, which is sitting in the closet
what
because
what about all of the bargains you've been talking about getting off eBay and
well, yeah, did he get to he got a couple of used ones. Like we're talking used models though, like the new
no,
kits though.
no, that's what I'm saying though. Like you chose to buy used stuff. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here that obviously it can't be generating that much money or else they would support it. So
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I don't think it what I genuinely think it is, and again, for right or wrong, and not that I'm necessarily disagreeing per se, It's the store says it closes at 8 o'clock, so he closes the doors at 8 o'clock. I guess maybe because I don't know the guy because he's new, but he and I have never had a conversation. I don't know that he said hello to me, even when I've
Oh
walked in the
yeah,
door.
this isn't excusing him being bad at his job, because that's one side of a coin. But the
Yeah,
other side of a coin is he doesn't know you. Why would he stay not getting paid to let you finish your game?
Let me ask you this: is he a tabletop gamer?
no, my understanding is he's a magic guy.
Yeah.
So
And he's
so
also,
that
but this is the part that pisses me off. What we learned in this parking lot conversation is he's also the guy that's there for Friday Night Magic, and he lets that go until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're willing to do that for the 12 to 14 people that are still sticking around past 8 o'clock for Friday Night Magic, why aren't you willing to do it for the 22 people that are in there playing tabletop games? Like,
yeah, but are you guys in there buying snacks? Are you guys,
yeah,
the no, I get that, but I mean, how many people are there for Friday Night Magic compared to tabletop game night?
I'm not going to
There,
disagree. You're right. The crowd is bigger on Friday nights than it
you
is.
know,
I'm
and
talking.
and this is one of those. I think that this is one of those arguments or one of those conversations that is a very tough one, and it actually stems from the closing time, not from the employee himself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because when your store closes at 8 o'clock, I can see employees not really wanting to stay later. I
And
get that.
that was one of the big things that I fought for to stop that the kind of thing you're experiencing. Was I said the closing time needs to be 11, but what you do is you actually have the store the advertised to a customer closing time is 10:30,
Right.
but the people are all scheduled to work until 11, because then you don't have that feeling of fucking I finished 5
Getting
minutes ago.
kicked out. Yeah.
I'm still gonna cash out, and these guys haven't left yet, because you're staying later and later and later. When I finished at 8, I could have been out the door.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it's all
I guess I
psychological.
guess maybe the way that he did it on Tuesday really is what pissed me off. It's the I didn't get a word. Like Chad and I obviously were involved in the game. We were playing the game. We didn't get a word, a warning, nothing. 8 o'clock hit and the lights went out. And I don't know if
And
you've
that,
ever tried to put away 100 models in the dark when you've
well,
only got
that's
like
that's probably a
No, but
conversation with the owner at that
yeah,
point,
you don't
or
think
the
I'm going to have that.
manager,
I
or the
absolutely intend to
manager.
have that.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's rude. I mean, that is
Yes.
horrible, horrible customer service. Even at the game shop on Tuesday nights when we would play there way back when with X-Wing, Kat, who would be working there, she'd be like, register closing at 9:30, and then doors are, we want everybody out by 10, so we knew if the guy came to you and said, "Hey, I got to be out of here at 8 o'clock. So the doors, everything, lights are going to go out at 8. I'm going to be ready to go." That would tell you to start packing up at 7:45.
yeah. It's all
Right.
And that's a
communication,
communication
and
piece.
like
Yeah, that's
ultimately, none of my points excuse him being bad at his job.
correct.
You have a level of expectation and entitlement which the store might have trained into you, but and that might be wrong as well.
Well,
Yeah.
so,
But it doesn't
and
excuse him being bad at his job.
that is a good counterpoint in the fact. So a little bit of backstory. When this store opened up, Chad, Logan, myself were the first three customers to walk in the door and support this store. And for weeks, we were the only people playing games in that store as the store owner was establishing his foothold in the area with another competing store. And slowly but surely, we were pulling people in for the tabletop side to pull them into the store. So you are correct in the fact that maybe the problem is with me in the fact that I'm like,
You feel entitled
I
to
feel like
something.
I have a little bit of wiggle room, and I've always had that wiggle room to have a new employee come in who isn't aware of that relationship isn't aware of all of that to be like, boom, 8 o'clock lights out. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't want to.
it's
I didn't want to pull the Chris Sheriff. Do you know who I am? But I.
The other side of it as well is that we have an after hours room where like we'll let you book your after hours room. If you wanted to play late on a night where we're not open late, book your after hours room.
Yeah.
right.
So, well, that's probably not a bad idea. I'm gonna have to talk. I know the Steven, the manager. He and I are gonna have a conversation. I intend to have a different conversation with him altogether, which was because I want to do a 40K league. The problem that I'm bumping into is that if this is how it's going to run for the 40K
You
league,
can.
by the I can't do it because I've got a lot of working stiffs that don't get to the store until about 6 or 7 o'clock, and if they're only going to be there for an hour, how do I even begin a game? Knowing that I've got less than 60 minutes to play it. By the time setup's done, we've got the objectives down, I've got 45 minutes to play a game. Like that's just it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that might be where have league fees or game night fees and all that type of stuff
Well,
to uh,
by
help the
definition,
store.
I've always charged league fees, and they always go to the store for
Yeah.
those reasons alone. We need to make it if the store is going to be giving up that space, we need to make it profitable for them for to allow
hmm
the people to do it. I've always believed in that.
Yeah. So I think COVID has changed some things a little bit. The
Oh
point of
boy.
view on gaming has changed unless you're a progressive store that, like Chris said, you open till 11. Once your gaming space open back up, it stays open till 11 o'clock. And that's,
Well, and
I don't own a game store, but if I did, I would be very pro player, pro, where a lot of stores are not that way. They're
well, and
not
so
about the player.
you bring up another good point, which is the COVID angle. I don't know what the employment issues the store may or may not be having. They may have
hmm
difficulty getting people even to come in to do the job. So maybe this new employee is at least willing to show the fuck up, which is a good start. And the
Yeah,
sacrifice to that is, well, the door, if he doesn't come, the doors aren't open.
yeah, it could be that way. It's so hard to tell right now. Give it 6 months, give it a year, give it till whenever COVID finally becomes just a commonplace thing. Where, like, for me, it's I don't like, and I'll be honest with you, I don't mind wearing a mask. Doesn't bother me at all.
Me neither.
And I
You and I
probably
are in
will
the
wear
same camp.
one. I will probably wear one the rest of my life as long as we have these communicable diseases that are out there that can kill you, you know.
You and I are on the same page on this one.
And that's just the way that I am, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to be that way. But until COVID becomes either, the common play, kind of like the common cold or the flu, where if you get it, your percentage, it just depends upon acceptance, what that point of acceptance is.
What I
The
would
game, the
say as
games,
well, Ed.
well,
Go on, sorry.
I'm really quick. The game store that I shop at, since Sparta closed, and I really still shop there because Sparta really wasn't a game store; it was a gaming store. But the store I shop at there hasn't reopened their gaming space. They were close, and then Delta variant came, and then
Now
it kind of set
Omicron.
everything back. And I'm okay with that, and they're okay with that because they have board games galore. They have. If you want to go buy a board game, that's where you want to go. If you want to go play someplace, there's a few other stores where you can go play.
See, I think that's
You
Well,
probably my
know,
problem
what I
is
was
I
gonna
don't
say,
have
Ed,
other
is
options.
I thought you've got a table in your garage, don't you?
Well, yeah, sure. I could. So here's the problem. Chad, the one person that I would probably invite more than anything else, isn't vaccinated. And most of the guys up there are not vaccinated. Hence the reason why we have to wear masks while we're there. So I agree with you that having well the table would be here because the garage turned into the COVID gym almost 2 years ago now at this point. But yeah, you're right. That is an option. There are other gaming stores in the area. So one of the premier places in our area is a membership only thing where it's 24/7 and you get key fob entrance. This is exactly the type of scenario that you're talking about. When you pay your membership fee, you get a key fob. You can go in there at 2 o'clock in the morning to go play games if you want.
Yeah.
It's an hour drive to go there. And it's an hour drive back. And I'm like, why? Why can't I have? I need a Sentry box in this area. Like, I'm willing to, like, even if I had to drive to Monroeville from where we are, which is probably a 30-minute drive. Mr. Nice Guys is, which is where regionals is usually at for X-Wing. Fantastic, gigantic store. They don't support tabletops. The only reason Mr. even got the regionals is because of Squadron Group really pushed for it. They needed a big store in the area, and that was the biggest one they could find. It's the only reason they got it. Otherwise, you walk in there, it's all card flippers. It's all Magic. It's all Yu-Gi-Oh! It's all Pokemon. And they get all those stuff down there. Like, and they sell GW there, but they just don't support it at all. It's like, my God, if they would do it, holy crap. I drive to Monroeville every week, I guess.
I mean, just listen to an audiobook and do the hour drive because, like, yeah, it's an hour there, but you're not on a time limit, are you?
No, not really. What it would do is it would shift it from like Tuesday night to like Friday night. Like something where I like Gabe and I are gonna, like, I get home from work, Gabe and I are gonna make the drive out there and we'll be there until like 2 in the morning and then drive back kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
what it would have to be. And I
Yeah.
ultimately in the end it may come to that. I'm just
Yeah.
hoping it doesn't have
There
to.
you go. That was a good tangent anyway before you
Yeah.
do
The
your closing.
longest closing I think we've ever done on this show.
I doubt it. We're still only at 2.5 hours, man. We've gone over 3 hours before, I'm sure.
I'm just saying when we actually started doing you've read here's all the stuff to remind you of, and I've already said goodbye to one person. Kris, always good talking to you, my friend.
It's sometimes good to be here. Sometimes.
All right, so on that note, I'm going to wish everyone well. Thank you so much for joining us, and as always, fly casual. Thank you once again for joining the Lack of Focus X-Wing podcast. Check out Dice Hate Productions for all of the latest episodes, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again next episode.